you're not watching.
Previously, in the Age of Ashes. With the support of the Council, the heroes learned of the myriad problems that have plagued Kovlar throughout the recent Forge days. There's been some degree of odd happenings throughout Kovlar recently, and it's not impossible. This is related to that Scarlet Triad you've told me of. One of my acolytes has disappeared. A runestone vanished in the vaults beneath the halls. And terribly potent one at that. Anti-magic. I would ask that you speak with me in my guild hall. After you've done your business here, whenever it is you wish to hear what I have to say. Head out into the waters and investigate. He didn't return. I've been getting a report after the reports now. Accusations from merchants both within Kovlar and just traveling through of merchandise coming out from the Antlers Guild of being shoddy make. Fragile, bad welds and forges, visible blows from the hammer's bite. And as we had left ourselves previously, yeah, all those things. There's a lot of stuff.
All the things.
7/10 of the Court of Regents, the ruling body of Kovlar, maybe not necessarily supports us, but at least believes there may be something amiss. Something that the heroes of Breach Hill perhaps may have experienced prior. Something that you could help them with. And boy, did they have absolutely no reservations about just shopping listing everything that's been going wrong in Kovlar in the last couple of Forge days, the last 5 to 10 Forge days. You were told of missing people. You were told of thefts from the Regent's vaults that seemed impossible. Of things even as seemingly random and unrelated as dropping food supplies from the local lake. Poor fishing. Can't help but wonder how much of this perhaps may actually just be a coincidence, because it sure does seem like a great list of unrelated woes. That said, you have started your investigations throughout the town. You, on the one hand, attempted to track down Talos, a missing acolyte that had traveled in from another dwarven settlement that the Guild of Faith had asked you to look into. You had investigated the Great Wall, the Wall of the Ancients.
Time to find out who crit failed.
That protects Kovlar
Who.
from the remains of Sagarok. And indeed, as we come back in today to our show, sponsored, of course, by Paizo. Thank you, as always, for having us here on your network and for allowing us to continue running your own adventure, having a great time.
We're strolling through the adventure. We're not running.
It's accurate. I don't know if I can legally say we're running this at this point. We are slowly walking this.
You can't make me run.
Unless there are gugs involved.
Did I run?
Yes.
I run so far away.
You got down on all fours and you ran away as fast as possible.
Bravely.
I mean, if not that, it's to click
Into literal pitch darkness.
And then into a
No,
wall.
that wasn't the gun. That was the thing that almost ate me whole.
That's fair. I guess that was the giant
Mouth that I
mouth
couldn't
wall.
fight. It ain't running if you can't fight.
That's fair.
Nom,
It's,
nom, 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 nom.
It's
clearly causing some issues. As we come back in today, the wall had turned up a couple of curious things. Resme, at the west end, not too far from the headquarters of the Guild of Arms, had found a strange flaw, not so much in the actual surface or carvings of the wall, but trying to assess, well, what she knows best, the actual makeup of the magical enchantments to keep the wall the agent standing. And Trishik had found something that looked like an odd addition, a manipulation of the runes carved across the base of the wall that helps to hold and direct the energies, seemingly subverting something at the far end, the less populated side, where it would be less noticeable. And having sent Severin to fetch the Archmage, this is a dire concern indeed. And he has come out quite hastily, arriving not too long after Trishik and Marshall would have met back up with Resme at the western end of the wall here. As he arrives with a couple of his acolytes with him.
I found him, Resme. I found him, and just like you said, I did not poop on his hat.
He very much did. And if there's one thing that, if there's any proper evidence, I won't be taken lightly, it's any kind of manipulation of the Wall of the Ancients itself. These enchantments are critical. The Kovlar's continued safety.
Of course.
You're familiar here.
Yes.
Seemed that you were quite confident you'd found something amiss.
Well, we spent about the last 10 hours going up and down this wall, making sure that everything magical in it was intact and had not been sabotaged. We figured that if somebody wanted to hurt Kovlar, the first place to hit you would be your defenses, and this would be your most basic one.
It may well be logical. Taking this wall down somehow would be a crisis Kovlar perhaps hasn't experienced since the fall of Sagarok itself. That said, I imagine it'd be nearly impossible to pull off.
Not impossible, just very tedious.
These enchantments are no simple spell. This isn't a potency rune you can simply slap on a dagger, lass.
Of course it's not. It's extremely complex. There's at least 15 different layers of 6 different types of magic over... I think they may even be built over time and space, and not just in this particular one.
These abjurations are the work of some of the most powerful Archmagos Sagarok had.
It's a masterpiece.
Equal parts arcane and divine. I'll admit, a part of me's curious to see what you've even found here, and if there's anything to come of it. So show me to it, then. Seems you've had a day of investigating.
Let's find out.
Before we begin, apologize for interrupting, but would this by chance be what the Adorned was after? Did he think he found something in the walls?
He mentioned it, and I felt that taking a bit of time to look would certainly not cost us anything, and I don't want to overlook something just because an untrained eye caught it.
He brought some concern to me personally. Some dozen or more Forge nights ago, I came and had a look at what he thought he saw and didn't find anything out of the ordinary. But it'd be just like Bowman, who attempted to ask the first outsider showing any kind of magical competence coming through to overrule the Archmage of the Guild of Spells. Well, let's have a look, shall we?
Severin looks grumpy too. All right, over here.
As you take him over and escort him towards what you think you'd found, him and his acolytes start to weave a relatively simple but powerful bit of magic. almost expanding simple detections and divinations between the three of them into an amplified ritual. To look over the wall and, well, not really the wall. He doesn't take any interest in the runes. He immediately starts to use his own magic to divine through what enchantments there are that make up the Wall of Ancients itself. And as they do so, over the course of a minute or two, he steps up close to the wall, keeping this magic going. Just a faint emanation radiating out from each of his hands, off one side to one acolyte and to the other on the opposite, which seems to resonate with the runes of the wall itself. A much more prominent, visible, scintillating shimmer appearing over the stone as he approaches and starts to look it over.
Interesting.
Well, truth be told, it's not nothing. Something is a wee bit off about the layering of the magic here, about the direction.
It's subtle.
Aye, it is. It's nothing I'd immediately chalk off to any steps back, releasing the magic. Nothing I'd chalk up to something so deliberate or ridiculous, frankly, as a direct sabotage. But perhaps one of my mages not quite keeping up the task on their readings, on their supportive enchantments. Maybe a wee bit of laziness. Something I'll definitely investigate within the Guild of Spells myself. And I thank you for bringing it to me. But nothing major, it doesn't seem.
I don't know. It was an irregularity, and I felt it was best to point it out to those who understand it better.
That's wise of you to be certain. Now, there's nothing I can diagnose here in a second and be 100% confident of, just given the complexity of the magic, and the power, and the scope of it.
I don't have a good enough understanding of its mechanics either to know what it means, to tell you the truth.
But I thank you for bringing this to me.
It would perhaps also be worth mentioning. I found, and going over to one of the runes, I would point out where I had found it on the far end, in like the design. There was a, not a continuation. The pattern was suddenly brought underground. It looked as if someone had come by and perhaps made a edit or changed it. I am not a mason myself, but the pattern along most of the wall seemed to suddenly change.
Not a mason, and based on your description, I can safely assume you're not a mage either.
Correct. We were told there was a physical something done to wall, so I looked for a physical mark.
He points to one of his mages, and in Dwarven continues. Go with Trishik here and investigate whatever it is he thinks he's found. I doubt it's anything, but there does seem to be some minor flaw here, so it'd be unwise to simply ignore it. And the other mage nods, and then switching back to common. Aye. I'll follow you if you show me what it is you think you found.
Yes, it's not a problem.
I can verify it for you.
We'll begin the mile-long walk down to the other side of the wall.
The Archmage clearly is not going, so him and the other mage are both staying here with Resme. And as he nods once more to you. Well then, I suppose that's about everything I need investigating here. I'll send a couple of my senior magi down here to elaborate further. With a couple of divinatory aids and some scryan gems. See if there's really anything to be made of this. I do appreciate you bringing it to me. Again, I want to be clear. I don't truly doubt your magical ability, or even really the faith you and your friends have in your cause. I just see no reason to believe there's any reckless force come down trying to undermine Kovlar here. This is odd, but odd within normal bounds, really.
I am honor bound to do what I have said, and if there is a way I can protect what you all love and treasure about this place, I will do so regardless.
You and your group certainly seem confident in what you've brought to the Count of the Regents. But I hope you'll understand me saying that, for Kovlar's sake, I hope you misread the situation.
Me too. I don't want to see anyone else get hurt.
Be safe, Mr. Esme. And with a nod and a motion to the other mage he brought with him, he turns and heads back towards town. Marshall, did you stay with Resme? Would you have headed off with Rashik and the other mage?
I'm probably staying with Rashik.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So as the three of you make your way back down the entire length of the wall, walking about a mile and a half down the entire stretch from the far west to the far east of Kovlar, you arrive at these additions, these carvings that you have found that seem to be additions, to not be part of the core series of runes that supports this magic. As you point him to the mage, the dwarf looks and furrows his brow for a bit. All right. Well, we thank you for your service and your time, Mr. Tajik. I'm sure the Guild of Spells can handle it from here.
Good. Well, I suppose you have a good rest of your day, and good luck with your
Make
work.
me a perception check. Both of you can. You're both here.
22.
30. I can't math. Hold on. 36.
So Trishik, you're not great at magic. That's why you're looking at the runes here. And maybe not fantastic at dwarf reading either. But, Marshall,
I don't speak Dwarvish.
kind of in your home territory here. Is the mage took one look at this and immediately lost interest. Like, he pretty clearly, this is absolutely nothing. And almost immediately just became dismissive. All right, hey, thanks. Well, have a nice day. It's clear that he does not believe this is any even remote danger or threat to the town. And in fact, is probably a normal part of the wall's operation.
Well,
We don't know magic.
You don't know. That much is clear.
well, I can tell you one thing. He clearly doesn't give a crap.
It's not our problem. We simply tell them what we found and be on the way.
So, wanna grab a beer?
Perhaps let us meet up with everyone first.
We'll get to-go drinks. They have them here.
There's an extra
What's a
silver
liquor
for the mug.
license?
Let's go.
It's got a lid.
I
It's got a stain at that point. Stein? Is it
Stein.
Stein?
Stein, I
Stein.
think.
Is it Stein?
I think
I
Stein.
realized I said I've
Stein.
only ever read that word.
It's done.
I suppose we'll go
Go
back
Stein.
and tell him that whatever we found, it did seem to be something, but we finally have the Archmage's attention and he is looking into it.
Back to the Guild of Finery.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll head back to the Guild of Finery by yourself then.
I would. No,
She
we
can-
have the walkie-talkie.
Yeah,
That's true, you
I'll
could,
tell
I
him
guess,
that.
just
I'll
tell
tell
them.
him where I'm going.
Oh, well, are you going or are you going
Yeah.
for beer time?
I'd be going back.
Are you going back to the Guild of Finery or are you going to beer time?
I got my to-go beer. I'm good.
He'll
You
just
still
stop
have that? It's been a full day.
I'll just stop somewhere, get another one.
I have many secrets.
What is this, like McDonald's? It's like, can I have one to go?
Could you imagine McDonald's go just pick it up and leave beer?
Drive-through alehouse.
So, just so you know, my home county has a drive-through liquor store.
But it's
I
not a
think that's super
McDonald's.
uncommon, really.
Yeah, not really.
But are you going straight to the Guild of Finery? You're not going to go to the bar? I find it somewhat unbelievable that Marshall has no interest in forking off to the bar and wants to go back to the Guild of Fancy stuff.
Oh yeah, he's still going to the bar.
You'll meet him eventually.
I'll meet up with him eventually. I gotta get a drink first. I have needs.
Long, hard day.
He feels the buzz starting to wear off. Can't have that.
I can feel my teeth again. I don't like it.
What?
I hope that that hotel.
You ever drink enough lead-laced moonshine, you can't feel your teeth?
You're not supposed to feel your teeth.
In all fairness, I did eat those crystal gem ooze things.
Yeah, there's no telling what's happening to his physiology right
his
now.
mouth is a
Sure.
mystery. He's
It
either
is a
gonna-
mystery.
I was gonna say his has some very bad oral care. He probably has a lot of cavities.
That or his teeth are just completely invincible by this point. I'm not really positive which. He's either got like actual boulders in his mouth or it's a medical mystery how he still has teeth.
If they wanted to put
both.
the
Stop.
gate in a really nice cave, they could have just put it in his mouth with all the cavities he has.
It's a little column A, a little column B. Let's
I
go
don't think
with
it's
that.
going to be quite as pretty looking as the multicolored gems outside Jewel Gate, but you
Half
know,
of
it's,
which one
It
to
would
eat
be a
you.
fascinating medical study.
100% of that wants to eat you.
it's ill-maintained. It
The elves
happens.
needs to put some velvet
Guys,
ropes up.
stop. Stop.
Just some velvet duct tape. It'll be fine.
So, after you two had your trail run cold at the Earthfire District, where would you have headed?
Let's see here. Roshin and Raz got separated, right?
Did you? You did. Yeah, you did
Yeah, you
investigate
did.
a little bit. But I'd imagine as you were both investigating this, when you started finding leads to the Earthfire District, you probably would have rubbed each other in. And I imagine you finished this. You
Okay.
split for a bit while you were searching, but
Yeah.
you probably would have reconvened. You're working to the same goal.
Right. Raz, care to sit down and go over it? I think there's another seafood stall over there.
Ooh. Yes, I'm hungry again. Yes. All this investigating makes a rat hungry. You're so hungry. That's a rat.
Have I graduated? Can I call you a rat now?
Whoa.
Rat parchment.
Ouch. Ouch.
We're gonna glaze over that
So
one.
we're gonna sit down. Sit down. So,
Oh, he can't get over it. He
I can't get over
his
it.
own
You don't
pun.
stop. Stop it.
It's fine. It's the rest of us that are
I'm
dying.
laughing at him.
I'm just waiting for you to take a breath.
Breathe.
So I managed to find a trail for this, for Talos. It looks like after drinking quite a bit, stumbled all over town. Last time he was seen was up on this intersection on the western side, heading up to the craft area. It's unlikely he wound up anywhere in there. They would have found him. It's certainly once the Forge Day ended and work started up again. The only place I can think of where he may have gone or been taken to is there's a branch off. The road heads off to the west into the caves. I don't know what's over there. I was thinking of asking around. Maybe one of the locals would know, be able to tell me. Maybe we go check it out later.
You want to make throw me some bard lore, just for generalized knowledge, because that where that road leaves, just geographically, you should have a half decent idea.
Lore obscure dwarven roads. Let's go.
Not even obscure.
That's obscure to me.
Cameras are focused for some reason.
That is a 33.
33. Yeah, it's far from obscure, really. The roads that lead out to the west of Kovlar are pretty main thoroughfares, and they are the primary avenues of trade that comes and goes from Kovlar. That northwestern road would lead further up into the myriad catacombs and various tunnels and interconnecting settlements and cities that was once the Grand Five Kingdoms for which the mountains are named. And that would be the road that most directly conjoins to the nearest major dwarven settlement.
Oh, if my memory serves me correctly, from the overall just road maps I've seen of the Five King Mountains, it's like a path between settlements. Really, it conjoins to the next major one. It leads through catacombs and other things. Goes through dwarven settlements.
So what you're saying is it's the road out of town.
It is the road out of town. Oh, a cave out of town.
So if you were to, theoretically, if you're going to kidnap someone and you wanted to get them away from the authorities,
That would be the road you take.
fascinating. We should share this with everyone else. I doubt that the Guild of Arms are going to be spending any manpower on it, but we can look into it.
You think we should get to go for them? I think Resme would love the seafood. Or Trishik would definitely love it.
Does it keep well?
Well, it's not like we're going to keep it for all day long.
It's a good point. It's a good point. And after all, if they don't actually want any of it, the stuff isn't very filling at all. I could eat this all day.
Exactly.
Right. 3, 4. Marshall should have 2. 4 to go, please.
So as you're organizing what is for you largely an evening's meal, but is going to kind of be the middle of the forge day where you actually end up retiring. Marshall is on his way from the north end of town. He is willing to make the entire mile trek back into the city of the real meat of the city of Kovlar for alcohol, because by Torag or whatever god, I haven't had a drink in like 15 minutes.
Yep.
Caden Kalian.
Is there a dwarven Caden Kalian?
Oh,
Caden
just any
Kalian.
dwarven, any dwarven god.
You know, believe it or not, I don't think there's a whole lot of wanton drunkardness among the dwarven
Yeah,
gods,
they're
because they're all
not-
kind of tradition and honor and rigidity and perfection.
Caden
Very
Kalian's
almost
very
Nothing beats a
coercive.
perfect drink.
I mean, arguments.
I mean,
It's pretty valid.
bold
man raises
statements
a
said
fair-
with conviction have certainly convinced many people with no other evidence. So
Ooh, especially like when you get like the top layer off and it's like the perfect pour and you're just with the cold.
Isn't something
Totally.
bad supposed to
like
happen
the
after you
fuzzy
drink
stuff.
ambrosia?
I mean,
I don't know how we got
immortality.
there.
So
well,
I guess
no, but
basing
like
how you
never have something as good as that, or
Oh, look at me.
I mean, just get more ambrosia, forehead.
yeah. But if you can't get more ambrosia,
Get more
then
hero points, forehead.
Oh,
It
there
makes
you go.
And-
all other drinks taste like ash.
Marshall, my good friend, pass this hero point on the table. Destro Nets in chat, trying to put a couple more hero points
Thank
on
you.
the
I
board.
will gladly
And now we're
use this.
technically even. I've
Just
got 3,
eats
you
it.
guys have got 3. There's no need for the chat to give you any more hero points. It's an even
No.
it's an even table
I don't
now.
think that averages
need all
out
of them.
correctly.
It's an even
Oh,
table
I'm sorry.
now.
You were saying?
Dang it. Dang it, he's got a bunch of Paizo power. He's
Don't
hitting
worry.
another one.
I
Destro
won't-
Nuts has been saving
I
up.
won't
Yeah.
waste it on a fortitude save. I've learned my lesson.
We'll see.
That's
I
good.
mean-
Track record of fortitude save hero points is phenomenally poor, actually. Is it actually 0?
It's 5%. I think he did it once.
Certainly not in the last couple sessions.
No, not in the last couple sessions, but I remember one rather spectacular one.
Oh, I remember it now. I had to think about it for a minute.
Oh, was that the don't turn into a rock or don't turn into a crystal while I'm getting eaten thing?
Oh, that was
Yes,
yeah,
that was
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah,
darn
that was pretty
important.
good.
Yeah, that's important.
That was an important thing. You probably want to you want to pass.
I like
those
this
for
costume.
Sure.
I like to keep wearing it.
Well, Marshall, as you're making your way back into town here, counting your 1 hero point, it takes a minute. He's not good at math.
What comes
making-
after 0?
Making your way down to get some more fine to go ale. What was the word again? Stein.
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 Oh, man,
Stain.
that was a stain
Stein.
so hard.
Stein.
In reality,
The more you think about it, the wronger the
You
correct answer sounds.
Say it and we'll understand.
See, I
Just
never needed a
Frankenstein.
mnemonic for Stein, but now I need one. Thank you. So Ben Stein, the celebrity who you actually haven't heard of in like 15 years. I wonder what he's doing these days. Anyway, Ben Stein.
Baron
has a
Stein
Stein.
Bears.
There you go, you
Uh,
freaking Mandela.
I hate
effect.
I hate all of you
This
so
joke has
much.
layers.
It does.
looks like Trishik is getting love too.
Oh, there's more sordidum in here also. Yeah. Oh no, now the lizard's the only one without a hero point. Now that's illegal. That can't happen. We got to get one across the board to give everyone
There.
some coins to keep themselves alive. Thank you for that support. Now there, everyone's got one.
All right,
Now
so
we average
so in
one.
reality, you think oh, a typical dwarf getting a
Hey!
typical Stein or whatever to go. No, it's just Marshall walking out with a keg and like a straw.
That's
attached to
okay.
it.
It's true. You bring entire kegs and you just kind of take your clan dagger and wedge a hole in the side of it and just start sucking the ale out.
If Trishik tells a story, is it a prehensile tale?
But before you can get all the way,
I'd have to take a feat for that.
Oh.
that was actually a S tier response. That was
Yeah.
that was solid.
Nice.
I gotta give you that one. As you're making your way through town, you are. It's the midst of the Forge Day. Things
Okay.
are busy. People are making their way through the streets. Wagons of goods are being moved around. The song of the Forge is audible throughout all of Kovlar. The hammering of dozens of anvils,
Oh, yeah.
the roar of
Marshall
forge
loves it.
flames and bellows blasting.
Oh yeah.
Constant rattle of wheel and chain as the city is alive, just doing its business. Which, thanks to Sirenscape, is actually like a sound set that's playing right now, so that's pretty neat. But you feel a brief touch on your shoulder, just like somebody trying to get your attention before you get to the keg.
Aw.
You're on your way to the keg. You're excited about the keg, but no keg quite yet.
Is it a touch on his shoulder or like someone jumping up and
Because
tapping?
remember, I'm the tallest dwarf
So
around.
let's be the shoulder, maybe like the elbow, I suppose.
Oi,
Marshall.
can I help you?
And you would turn around and see a woman who, I mean, this is entirely up to you backstory-wise, perhaps maybe vaguely recognizable.
Oh, she looks trustworthy.
Looks super trustworthy. She's
I
got
just-
a relatively stern face, whether that's due to her current mood or just kind of the nature of her existence isn't really immediately clear. Her face almost kind of rounded for a dwarf, very prominent dark eyebrows, and her black hair drawn up somewhat messily into a wide bun, just kind of on the top of her head. Looking at first glance like it's almost just drawn around with twine just to get it out of the way more than to get any kind of a proper fashionable hairstyle going.
I turn around and look at her stroking my beard. I'm like, do I know you?
Maybe briefly in passing. I cannot remember if we met properly, but alright. Believe we're cousins at some level.
Wait. You got your dagger on you.
I'm sorry. How's the dagger? And she'd reach down to just put a hand at her hip. Well, I'd imagine you, if anyone, when I have a problem understanding why I might not carry a family dagger anymore.
I suppose that makes sense. So, what can I do for you?
Well, can I buy you a drink? Start simple, I suppose.
I hope your coin purse is heavy. This dwarf drinks a lot.
Come on. There's a good place in the traveler's quarters. You've been to grandmother's.
All right, I follow her.
And she leads you down a little past the Gold Sky Inn, a little bit further more to the center of the Traveler's Quarter, more than the northern end where your current place of stay is. There's a bit of a smaller, kind of relatively simple dwarven building. And instead of having the more traditional flat roofs that a lot of dwarven buildings have, and it's like the most main perk of dwarven architecture is you don't have to really worry about drainage and weather. So you don't really need like the slatted roofs, you don't need rain drains, you don't need
it makes
thatching
sense,
or
yeah.
shingling. You can just kind of make a roof and it exists. But this one is one of the only buildings in all of Kovlar that would still have a little bit of a slope to its roofs and would have actual thatching, like tarred thatching up top, like a home on the surface.
Okay.
Clearly aesthetic to look much more like a human tavern. A sign out front that's not freestanding but mounted on one of the posts that holds up the front porch has a carving of what looks like the face of a smiling old dwarven woman with massive bulbous features, eyes entirely closed, almost just like curves, and a huge closed grin. A very kindly looking grandmotherly figure.
Almost cartoony.
This is
Almost,
babushka.
sort of cartoonish, like overly exaggerated.
Yeah.
Which would complement the name below it, literally just Grandma's Ale House.
I like it.
The light and the mood inside would be warm and jovial, and Scarlet would lead you through, not to the bar, but would flag a waiter and then sit out on a table a little off to the side, a little out of the main hustle and bustle of the Forge Days patronage coming through. It seems that perhaps dwarven stereotypes exist for a reason, because while it is what is basically the dwarven equivalent of 1 p.m., the alehouse is pretty busy. It seems to be a good amount of foot traffic coming and going. And you would know this, being a dwarf, having grown up in dwarven towns.
Oh yeah.
It's quite common that dwarves would come in throughout the day and stop for a quick drink and head back to what they were doing. And the culture is a lot less of coming and spending a couple of hours here, like either telling stories, gambling the night away, and more come in, have a drink or two, get back to work.
I mean, there's it's pretty much the equivalent of instead of going on break to grab a cup of coffee.
Exactly. It's literally that. You go on
You're
break,
grabbing a
you
pint.
go to the tavern and grab a pint, and you go back to work. It's exactly how it works.
Because it takes a lot of alcohol to affect us dwarves, let's just say.
But
Alcohol and magma channels. What a great mix.
she sits down to the corner.
Put Big Red in his own little seat and just sit down with her.
You can see that, like a lot of dwarves, again, it's Galarian. It's medieval fantasy enough that most people do carry a weapon because just like random bandits or even in a dwarven city, random wildlife is just as much of a problem. It's just not the wolves and bears you might find on the surface. It's purple worms sometimes.
Sometimes.
So most people are traveling around some degree of armed, and Scarlet's no exception. She's got a pretty big mace on one hip, square-headed, a big old just bonkin' mallet, inscribed with a sigil on one side that's it seems to be more stylistic than any kind of religious reference that you can recognize. Not that your religion's reference ability is terribly high.
I was about to say, Marshall has a religion.
If it's not a symbol of Korag, you may not immediately recognize it no matter what it is. But she flags the barmaid over and sits down and looks up behind the bar, where they have a pretty impressive display of various bottles, mostly through assorted hues of amber, but some of a variety of colors down near the end. She points up kind of towards the middle of the bar. That bottle, Umber Glow. 2 glasses, we'll take the whole thing. And before too long, with a nice, rounded bottle of whiskey in front of you, which is quite large, and a pair of shot glasses. And she hands a couple of silvers to the barmaid. Pours herself a drink.
Is this a thimble?
It's a whiskey, Marshall. Hand us down the whole bottle.
You get the Jameson from here on out.
Fireball.
Kind of
Watered down Jameson.
a bit of a small grin.
So, sets the glass down, starts pouring another, pours another shot for her. So, what business do you got going on?
Well, frankly, I was hoping to ask you much the same. What are you doing in Kovlar, Marshall?
Well, I'm here with my new little clanmates. We're trying to investigate the possible whereabouts of the Scarlet Triad, but in order to do that, we need to find some errands here and there for the council, and we're doing all sorts of things. I've just spent the last several hours looking up and down a stone wall, trying to find defects, and that didn't really work.
Look, I suppose what's not so much the question, and so much as why. What do you think you're accomplishing?
Well, I can tell you one thing. The Scarlet Triad are terrible people. I mean, granted, I'm one to talk, but they're terrible people, and not to mention, it might just so happen that a fellow clan member from the family might be involved, and I need to know why.
With a glass in one hand, she puts her thumb and forefinger on the bridge of her nose. Marshall, it cannot possibly be that dense.
Kind of slams the glass on the counter and shakes the table a little bit. Dense. I've seen evidence. I've seen the papers.
No,
Even
Marshall, who do you think I am?
I don't know. Who exactly are you? I barely remember you, in all honesty.
Yeah, you left fairly young after all that business with your father, and was never terribly close with your branch of the family in the first place, I suppose. Not really a mystery, but you know, at least I think you do, why I'm here. But you, Marshall, I don't even know where to begin on this. I cannot even begin to summarize how much you don't understand. I can't even conceptualize it and how much you don't understand. Let me...
Well, he just picks up the entire bottle and starts sipping out of it. You best be explaining and grab another bottle.
It's like It is gonna take me a long time.
this dance.
You could hear the dial-up noises across the field.
Almost as if he's doing it out of spite.
I'm trying so hard to stay in character, guys.
Let
Just
me-
so you know.
I'm denser faster.
Let me ask you something, Marshall. If you can even properly grasp the concept of a hypothetical question.
And she's getting snarky.
I like her.
The words are getting bigger. The understanding's getting farther away.
Say your hometown is being threatened by the likes of a dragon. A dragon fully capable of killing you and everyone you know and care about, razing your whole town to the ground. But if you could go yourself, sacrifice yourself to this dragon, and somehow sate his hunger alone, you'd die, certainly. But the rest of your town would live. Or you could run. You could leave your town to burn to cinders. What would you do?
Well, then I'll answer your question with another question. Would this happen to be a magma dragon by chance?
It's not a literal question, Marshall.
But I guess, in a way, yes, I would do what possible to protect my town.
Of course you would. It'd be ridiculous not to. It'd be a level of selfishness you couldn't even conceptualize. Now, imagine this dragon isn't happy with but a single sacrifice. He needs a dozen. 2 dozen. No one else in your town's willing to go. You're a strong sword. You could make them. Would you?
Huh. You bet your ass I would.
What I'm doing here, what Trigo, what the whole Scarlet Triad is doing, it's no different. You came here through a portal, no? You used Alsa's ring. You came to the Eye Daughter.
Aye.
And I take it Virus wasn't boasting about finding the Eye of the Wise. I was willing through. He actually did. She kind of reaches in her neck and pulls out what looks like a chisel that she has on a string. A relatively small one that you would use for fine detail and smithing. This is another. It was given to dwarven kind millennia past. A sign of friendship, a peace perhaps, from the elves. And after what the damned monkeys did to Vengagate, it only leaves one left that I imagine you and your friends have unaccounted for, and Trigal has that one. But Alcera's weapon ain't... It's... You don't even know it is that. It's not a portal, Marshall. You don't understand what you're messing with. The thing's a prison. Housing a being the likes of which Galarian hasn't seen since Rovagog himself had to be sealed away by all the gods.
You know, don't get me wrong. I understand what you're saying. To an extent. I'll admit, big words confuse me, but I will say this. As he pours a couple more shots. There's always a right way to a solution, and a wrong way. And, enslaving others is definitely not on my list.
Sometimes there's only one way. If you keep on the path you're on, with nary an idea what risks you bring into the whole world, you free a few dozen people, you free maybe a couple hundred. The price you pay is the whole of Galarian. Not just Kovlar, not just Breach Hill. Every last man, woman, and child burnt in an age of ashes.
Roll credit.
Roll credits.
You don't You don't I understand what you gotten yourself involved into. Look, you think any one of us enjoys what we have to do. Those that we have the coin to pay, those that we can hire, our resources aren't infinite. We need high-end mages, wizards, trying to work some kind of support. We got researchers and historians trying to put together anything we can do to prevent this. But more work needs done than that. And the more people that know about it, the more dangerous it becomes. It's not a choice for us, Marshall.
As she states this to her, or to him, he kind of just picks up Big Red quickly and just has the blade, like on the left side of her neck.
Now listen. I understand. However,
You are in a tavern. There's like a bunch of other people.
Do you think
around.
Marshall cares?
Obviously, this is like garner some attention, but she just kind of raises a hand.
let me make one thing clear.
And then you see a little bit of the steam and the flame coming off his axe start to do its thing.
I'm gonna make one thing clear for sure. Regardless of what danger it is, my friends and I, we will stop it. And if you get in my way, make sure there was nothing left of you or the triad. So I'm giving you a friendly warning. Step down.
That's wish I could talk to that elf of yours. Seems like she's at least got a wee bit of sense. Anything between her ears.
I'll tell you the same thing, I promise you. The lass is very stubborn.
But she could understand when things sometimes are necessary. It's a sacrifice for the greater good. It's what we have to do. I'm serious, Marshall.
And so am I. We're
I'm
done
not-
here.
He sits up.
Axe over his shoulder. Now, take my words kindly, or next time it'll be my axe.
And I just walk out.
As you go to leave, you hear her yell out. You get out of the whole building, and she comes up to her. Marshall! Can I give you at least a show of good faith?
What can you possibly give me that's a show of good faith?
And she comes up, still staying like 5-8 steps away. You're looking for a man. Talos. The Guild of Faith has sent you to find him. I know where he is. I don't have choice over exactly each and what individual thing that happens here, but I didn't know he was a priest. I didn't look to bring the wrath of the gods down on us by taking a man of the cloth.
What are you saying?
I can give you one man at least.
Marshall kind of strokes his beard and ponders for a second.
Right, tell you what. This is what we're gonna do.
Puts his axe away.
To follow this lead. And if it's right, I might consider listening to you. But I'm bringing me friends with me. However, if you're wrong, your head, I'll add it to my sack of trophies. Understood?
Look, Marshall, I get your posturizing and all this. I do. But just tell your friends what I told you. At least let them think on it.
Fine.
If you can convince the Archmage, perhaps, to follow you up to also the ring itself, I'm sure he can see it. You talked to those damned jungle elves. Didn't they tell you what they did with the ring in the past?
Told you there was a dragon.
You know what's in there, Marshall, and you know why it can't come out.
I'm aware.
But it's not gonna rest forever. And with you and your friends running out, recklessly opening every damn portal in the thing, it's only a matter of time until it works its way free.
Well, I guess we'll just have to stop it before that happens, now, don't we?
I'll send you what I told you I would. It's the least I can do. Talk to your friends. Talk to your elf. She understands magic at the very least. And please, Marshall, just go home.
Well, we'll see. But till then, stay out of my way.
Fine.
Oof. Severin, do you think the inn has like a masseuse? Because kneeling in front of that gate all day and bending down and looking for that stupid inconsistency has put a crick in my neck and back that will never ever come out without some sort of assistance. Oh God. Oh, the price we pay.
Roshin has a morning star.
Hold on, we got rectangle too. Don't forget that.
Posturpedic.
I think it's really funny that you think that that thing can get in through my corset.
Tenderize, yeah.
Sound damage gets.
I already see that a full plate.
But
Well,
only to the
Marshall.
midriff.
You didn't get your keg. But Resme and Trajik would have been able to meet back with the Guild of Finery, where the Adorned would have nodded. Clearly, even more solid in his concerns that the Archmage has confirmed that there is anything wrong with the walls. No matter how much it seems like it may be something fairly mundane. He seems to think that the Archmage is a bit overly dismissive. Aloof, perhaps, would be a good phrase.
He's aloof.
And, with the knowledge you brought him, quickly kind of scrambles to find something that would be valuable to you. Something he could at least provide you as thanks for the investigation that you followed up on his behalf.
Sir, I can promise you, if there's anything to be found, we will follow up on the Archmage's work and make sure that it is found.
I truly do understand that. I know. And I thank you for this that you've looked into here, but you know, magic's not really my strong point. I'm not gonna stop worrying about this, at least not until we find out that there's either certainly nothing or whatever there is was taken care of.
You said you wanted to help.
Aye.
Will you turn around? Just believe me, I this is the only thing that's gonna help.
Well, I suppose I can.
Okay. And she'll kind of stand behind him and she'll reach up and she's like, all right, pick me up and just bend over a little.
You're doing the back crack thing.
If he does it, like, he'll actually hear her back give an audible crack. Oh! Oh, that's so much better. Oh, okay, we're even now.
You know, there's certainly a lot better sources throughout Kovlar that could do much better than that. I can give you several recommendations, actually.
I could, but if I didn't get that worked out almost immediately, I wasn't going to be able to get up tomorrow morning.
Look, I'll send you to a lass of mine. She's down at the Lakeside District, works out of the communal bathhouses. Absolute wizard, she is. On par with anything that the Archmage has working for her. But here, you, at the very least, and well, that friend of yours, the very heavily armored lass. I'm terrible with names. I
Roshin.
apologize. Roshin it was. The two of you seem like you enjoy a bit of the finer things in life, but, you know, due to your occupation in your day-to-day, obviously, there's a lot of times you're kind of forced to be a little more cautious. Here, I have something for you.
Ooh.
And he pulls out just a small folded piece of silk that he opens up to reveal a pair of perfectly squared runestones sat in his hand. These are nothing terribly impressive. Simple magics, really. But ones that I find a fair few members of the Guild of Arms have been quite envious of. If you can get this magic swapped over to your armor, of course, you can't really benefit from this, but your friend Rasheen can, and maybe someone else in your group.
Thank you.
Won't make it any lighter, won't make it any simpler, but it'll certainly make it more presentable.
Oh, Oh, how lovely.
And he hands you a pair of Glamoured Runestones. Oh. Which is armor property rune that lets you literally take one action of just envisioning that instead of armor you are wearing something nice, and then it uses an illusion to make it appear as though you are wearing something nice.
You better work.
Does it make me
Cover girl.
Does it make me clank less?
It does not, no.
Doesn't have the auditory trait.
It's purely visual, I believe.
Yeah, it is purely visible. It is the shape and appearance. So you will still hear the jangling of the plate and the chain, but you will at least look a little bit nicer. You won't look like you're visibly wearing full plate. I mean, it will be... It's not a terribly difficult illusion to see through. It is very much a kind of surface level thing.
Make it look
This is
presentable.
for
That's
social
so cool.
and polite conversation.
Could also fool the occasional dingus who doesn't look... I mean, at a
Or-
casual glance, you're going to look like you're not wearing full plate armor, so...
Or a conversation starter. You just you just walk up to someone and
It's
visualize
a real
it. and
heavy
just-
dress.
It is also neat because it, I believe, lets you change to fine clothing of basically any kind. Yeah. Yeah, it's of your imagining. So it is also like an entire wardrobe unto your full plate.
Can I please have one?
So
Can
much
also
of
make
that.
your full
You
plate.
could literally put this just into your explorer's clothing.
That is
You have
one.
medium armor now, actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
you have armor.
I am going to wear it, and I'm going to turn it into a peacock cloak.
You can. That
Yes,
is within.
that is
I
a-
mean,
That is within the realm of possibility for the Glamoured Runestone.
I'm so happy.
No.
what have you done?
Best day ever.
We will all be emperor birds.
Now, Resme, I thought we were done fighting bone devils. What just happened? Are you all right?
Oh, I'm fine. It's just these are going to be beautiful, and I'm going to make Roisin look like a pretty princess.
What do they?
She just sneezes.
She's not even here, but somewhere a darkness creeps over her.
A chill run off my spine.
You feel cold? Got a fever? You might be
Sure.
sick. You've been
I
working
take it
hard.
that those will
been
be at
working
least
hard.
a little useful then.
Oh, yes, they can make your armor look visually like anything you want them to.
You know, ruffle my leather jacket, but I like what I'm wearing.
Oh, no. Darling, you're gorgeous. I want absolutely nothing to do to mar your beauty. But you have to admit, Roisin does get a bit disheveled.
Reed eaten by monsters.
Occasionally mildly gored.
But imagine how much more lovely she would be if while she was getting disheveled, she was wearing a princess cut gown with lovely frills and silk furbelows.
Chilly in this place.
You feeling okay?
I'm sorry.
I think I'd prefer the armor myself.
It's all right. We can teach you that you're wrong.
Wow.
Allow me to show you the error of your ways, my
Well-
good lizard friend.
While you're at it, perhaps you would like to sample my wine.
Trishik, brother of mine, I would never drink anything that came out of your pack without examining it in an alchemical lab first.
It's clearly the bottle of slumber wine.
He has this label that just says slumber wine. It looks like it's just kind of hastily.
Uncommon.
They can be ripped
Uncommon.
off
Yeah.
very easily
No,
just to make sure he
everything's
doesn't accidentally
labeled.
pull
It
it out.
literally just says slumber wine, idiot. And then if you're an idiot, you're like, but what if it isn't slumber wine?
Everything in my inventory is labeled in Araxi.
I understand
You
it.
speak it. You know
It
what it
says slumber wine.
It says slumber wine for you. But for anybody who doesn't know better, it's a fancy foreign wine.
This is gonna get This is gonna get funny really quick.
Oh, it's like a nighttime tea. Fantastic.
So if Marshall has trouble
nighttime.
sleeping, he knows what the.
Thank you
So-
so much.
This is NyQuil. Take a sip.
The
That's
group of
actually a
you.
Rexy word for it. NyQuil.
Our bantering and
The group of you would eventually, after completing your various investigations, end up reconvening back at the Gold Sky Inn, I imagine, unless there was somewhere else you would agreed in advance to.
Nope.
I think that
The inn.
Goldstein Inn is a fine place to meet up.
And would be able to explain. Obviously, you'd be able to tell what happened with your investigations. That the trail kind of went cold. You would be able to tell what you found with the walls.
I found a line.
Is Marshall sharing with the class?
Well, he's probably going to be the last one to show up, in all honesty, because he got a little delayed.
Probably.
So he
You
just
are
kind
actually
of.
a lot closer at Grandma's Ale House. You are like literally a mile closer to the Gold Sky
But-
Inn than
Oh, how-
everyone else.
How good is he with directions? He's not going to a bar.
Okay, hold on. Hold on. I have to give you context. Okay, we're gonna get some.
God, you zoomed in.
Marshall's not that dumb.
Let me get some context.
Okay.
He's dead,
Okay,
but he's not that dumb.
So this here is Grandma's Ale House. This is the
Wow,
Gold Sky Inn.
okay.
That requires
It is
one
around the
turn.
corner.
You guys are all the way up here in various places.
This is true.
He is literally 3 buildings.
So
see it.
logically speaking, as everyone's coming back to the inn, I'm probably already at the bar just sipping a
Yes,
beer.
you would definitely have been the first one there. I imagine that conversation kind of dulling your desire to go catch up at the Gildefinery, but everyone would trickle into you.
I
Trishik
just
and
kind
I
of
have
look
made,
up at everyone, and I'm
I've
like,
made a
"Fuck."
pact that we're not telling Roisin what the stone is until it's already on her
Oh
armor.
god.
Since
She
we're the
has
ones
to
who would put it
activate
in. I know, but she won't know that until it's actually on her armor.
You could just tell her to think about a pretty dress, and then it would happen.
See, that's what I'm gonna do.
Or worse, Marshall could take it and put it on.
Marshall is going to be the prettiest princess.
Marshall in the brightest, pinkest, and fluffiest of tutus, smashing everything.
It's basically the
La-di-dee,
magical equivalent
la-di-da.
of pull my finger. That's basically what that is.
Exactly.
First, I'm gonna tell you to think about being a bunny.
But after you all share your investigations
Funny girl
for the day, Marshall,
So as
where
I
did you go?
as I'm sipping down my beer here, and I look at everyone. So I don't want to be that guy, but I may have some important information to share for once.
Oh, please don't be the person with important information, Marshall.
So, remember that possible family member that might be involved?
Yes.
Oh, sure.
Let's just say I had a nice glass of whiskey with her.
Did you actually have a nice glass of whiskey with her?
Oh, it was very lovely. I drank
it-
most of it.
So was it a glass or a bottle?
It started off with a couple of tiny, weeny, little shot glasses, but then it eventually turned into me, you know, just taking a bottle.
Right,
But,
right, right. Well, if she wants to admit it.
What did she have to say?
And then on that, I relay everything that she's told me and what I've said in response.
You tell him everything.
Yep, I told them everything in full detail, and you could even see as I'm talking about it, you can tell that the vein in the side of my skull is starting to bulge out because it just angers me thinking about it.
This is good information. If she keeps such an important item simply on a necklace, it would not be difficult for me to just take it.
It's not just slavery, but human sacrifice. Goodness gracious. How far
Yes.
does the rot go?
But there's something else about it. I can't really explain. She seemed very, and I repeat, very desperate. And she was asking me to personally, for lack of a better term, speak with you more than anything.
She. Look, I know this seems like a fairy tale, but the fact of the matter is the Mwangi people, they were very, very honest about that with us. They believe that dragon is trapped in the gate, and I am telling you, I have seen an image of it. It may not have been there when we went through it, but I believe that there is a dragon or something trapped in that gate. This only confirms what I guess I haven't thought about it in a while, but it makes sense.
So what do you suggest we do?
I would like to talk to her.
That's where I'm gonna have to stop you last Saturday. I don't trust her as far as I can throw her. However, I think between me and the boss here, we might be able to come up with a very clever strategy
I think talking to her would be a good idea.
with safety precautions.
Exactly.
If
Have
nothing-
Roshin and myself somewhere out of sight. Roshin preferably on the other side of a door. Have me on something nearby like a rooftop, perhaps invisible in the room. And as soon as she says what we want to hear, we subdue her.
That's what I was thinking.
Well, I'll be subduing her, all right.
But
One way or another.
here's the thing. Clearly, we cannot let her continue to sacrifice people to this thing. But if we want to have any chance of defeating it, we're going to have to find out as much about it as possible. And you don't go killing an asset before you have everything the asset has to give you. And she is clearly an asset. She knows what's going on. And
Yes, that is why we talk to her. let you get the information, you give signal, we end the information.
However, I mean, she said out of good faith, for lack of better terms, she has information on one of our missing persons.
Well,
Oh, which one?
Talos,
Do you
right?
have Talos? Do you have
Yeah.
several?
Do I have what?
Several missing persons? I guess there's the boat of people that disappeared on the,
the
way.
boat.
The
Yeah.
boat.
Right.
Missing Blackberry.
It's,
The one with the name, and then the bunch that don't
yeah,
have a name.
Talos and the boat.
Them guys.
Them guys.
Talos and the people we will definitely
So, yeah.
never
Dwarf
see
A,
again.
Dwarf B, Dwarf
Yeah.
C.
So
I'm sure they're fine.
I just kind of relayed to Roshin. I'm like, yeah, she claims that she has information about Talos and whatever else, but because of obviously we don't trust her, you know, I told her as exchange. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna see if this fact is true, and if it is, then I may consider talking to you. If not, I'm just gonna take your head. It's
Slaver
basically-
with morals. She draws the line at religious folk, apparently.
I don't know if slaver is accurate. At this point, I think we have to call them
A kidnapper.
not just kidnappers, but murderers.
Well, we knew that one already.
But
Regardless, I don't
there's-
trust it.
there's a difference between, and I know this is going to sound droll, but there's a very large difference in taking people and bringing them to work because you want some sort of profit or there's an end to it. There's a very different thing that would allow a person to be so cold that they would knowingly take innocent people and sacrifice them.
Cold or desperate, perhaps. Please don't mistake me for trying to empathize with the slaver. I have very little room for mercy or respect for him. But if they're desperate, and it sounds like she is something of a desperate person, she's looking to find a way to stop this dragon. If what she says is true, it may be worthwhile to try and get the Archmage over to the gate to take a look at it. We're unknowingly undoing a seal by every time we walk through the place. Probably be something we'd want to avoid.
I should think.
So, can we start investigating and see if the lead is any good first before we do anything else?
It could be useful. If we come down in strength, at the very least, if it's a double cross and the Triad goons are there and they try to attack us, it just makes it easier to take them down.
Exactly.
And on the other hand, perhaps we get to rescue a good man and save his wife from more tears.
Well,
It
only one
is-
way to find out.
It is also hard evidence that they are active in the city.
Just so. If they're like the other Triad members, they'll be carrying badges of office, perhaps more of those shackles. We'll bring it in before the council, get some good gravitas out of it.
Might
And-
be worth including the man at arms, so
I
he
also-
could see it for himself.
Bringing him with us, you think?
Perhaps.
I doubt he'd want to leave the city, and that's almost a certain is where they're holding him. He went missing right outside one of the gates outside of the city. But, well, when the lead comes, we'll know where to go.
Well,
In the
exactly.
meantime, do we want to go and perhaps try to pay the Fortunate a visit, explain how she's being framed?
Yes.
At this point, well, it is the middle of the Forge Day. It would be the functional equivalent of like 10 p.m. for you guys because it was like a full day of investigation. So
it's not hard to go just talk to someone.
Yeah. Especially when
She
they're
is right
riding
on the
around.
road.
Yeah.
Gambling,
It's
I'm
this
in.
building, right?
yeah, it is relatively close by. Yeah, it's a little
Oh no, it's
further down.
the round one.
Yeah, it's this one down here.
Well, if
This
it's
little-
another block down, I don't want to go.
Besides, we
And
can't.
that's why I drew the line.
I can see it from the front door, but there's two streets between
There's
us and
so
there.
much walking.
We can't go through an entire adventure and never gamble at all.
I think we totally can, actually.
No.
Not with me.
Not with him involved.
Don't we gamble with our lives every single day?
I'm
Is
gonna
that
say,
not enough?
we literally roll dice to see if
Just
we
because you
survive the
have a
day.
It's
tiny
like 300 yards.
Wait,
It's
if
not
we're
super
gambling
far.
with our
Okay.
lives, are we the insurance?
Yeah.
The house always
I got your
wins, so-
insurance right here.
House does always win. That's why there's only one original character left.
Yeah.
Oh.
Ooh. I praise Centipede, and I'm gonna stay that way.
I can't stop Centipede. It's too powerful.
Centipede is pretty powerful.
Well, if you wanted to go while it is the middle of the day, regardless of your own states, if you want to just go talk to her, it's definitely something
Yeah.
you could do. You wouldn't be able to stay terribly long.
And mostly just going to like hear what she has to say based on what we found.
Oh, by the way, on the way over, Raz and I found these. Look at these things. It's like a roll that's been cut and that has these seafood meat in it, and they soak it in butter. It's like mostly butter. You might want to actually try to taste the second one, but I knew you'd do that, so I bought you a second one.
Just for the record, I already swallowed it.
2 bites this time for this one. 2 bites.
Oh.
He's at least tasting it and chewing it. I give it to him. It's not bad, is it?
I'm just going to eat half of it across.
Just.
I mean, it's better than what Raz does. He just chews right to the middle.
Then I have two.
It gives you 2 for later.
Yeah.
I just
Severance,
have
That's
one
not how
really
rats
long
eat
one.
things.
matter.
Severance steals a shrimp while no one's looking.
Why is this
Ra-
suddenly
rats-
turned into how they eat their food Pathfinder edition?
Because it's
Pathfinder.
It's funny to eat a sandwich half the wrong way, or to eat through directly the middle.
content.
We have unique and quirky characters.
The group of you, sandwich consumption methods notwithstanding, head out of the Gold Sky Inn and down to the Whims of Fortune. Whereas you approach now, the doors are wide open. There is what appears to be a guard of some kind standing at the outside of the doors themselves. He doesn't have any armor, really. He does have a fairly small, not really concealed. It's clear that he is armed, but not just ostensibly out on his hip. There is big sword or anything. But he does have something a little bit more subtle, sort of under a jacket. A dwarf standing there, fairly well maintained, hands together in front of him, just kind of watching. Nods to the group of you as you approach.
Is there a secret password?
If there is, I couldn't really tell you, could I?
That's a good secret.
That's a good point.
True. Well, can we go in?
Of course.
Oh,
Best
good.
of luck.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
yourselves.
Very kind.
Do you tip the doorman in a casino?
No.
Okay.
That'd be less money that you could lose at the tables. Can't be having that.
But I don't plan on losing any money.
No one ever does.
That's how we get
But as you head inside, you get the full splendor of a dwarven casino on tier with the entire Anvilers Guild and Stonemasons Guild and like Soldiers Guild of Kovlar. This is their guild hall, but the Whims of Fortune, as it is called, is also a pretty spectacular building unto itself. Immediately, there are a wide assortment of almost garishly vibrant, bright colors near everywhere. And a bit of almost brief sensory overload just entering through the doors. It's not terribly loud, but there is...
It's like a house of Shaylin.
It's like the general rumble of the busy drinking hours at a tavern in, well, it's Cantargo, a large enough city. Maybe times 1.5. With a lot of just uproarious laughter, shouted conversations and outbursts, and a whole lot of various coins and dice moving throughout the place. It is a wide assortment of different tables, each seeming to be staffed by a single dwarven man or woman who bears a pin with the same crest of the Gamblers Guild that you saw Fortunate Cave Scream had when you met her at the Court of Regents. So it seems like the actual Gamblers Guild themselves are running each of the individual tables. Obviously, it's their casino. But any games of chance, both dwarven or more traditional surface you would want, there are some tables for, although it is vastly majoritively what appear to be a pair of dwarven dice games taking up a large amount of the tables, each one seating maybe a dozen raucous dwarves with massive stacks of brightly colored square tiles that they have in front of them in lieu of more traditional coin. And not too far inside the door, there is a large counter where you see several people with their purses out, counting coin, exchanging for these same sort of tokens. And surprisingly, it's not actually difficult for you to see the Fortunate herself, as at the moment she is actually visible on the floor, back behind the counter, looking through some kind of book or ledger near the exchange station. And the five of you being the incredibly visible, vibrant, unique, and quirky characters that you are,
Spot the protagonist.
you would near immediately gain her attention. Which, with a big grin, she'd just wave the groupie over from the door and put her book down
This looks like so much fun.
around the counter. Aye, it's certainly a bunch of fun if you're actually making coin off of it, but, plenty of people that aren't keep coming back anyway, so there must be something to it, I imagine. Welcome to the whims of fortune, friends.
How
A pleasure to be
lovely.
here. It's quite bright in here.
Ah, and you got surface eyes. It's something extra special for the dwarves. I hear this is even muted compared to some of the stuff they have up in Absalom on the surface. I've heard wild tales from traveling merchants you wouldn't believe. I don't believe, and honestly, I think on the grand scale of things, most stories have at least some seed of a truth in them, but there's no way they can be that ridiculously extravagant.
It can.
Anyway, here. If you want a drink, I can definitely get something for each of you. And as you put so much effort in traveling here and come and trying to help Kovlar, the group you honor, she just reaches back behind the counter, shunting one of the little dwarves over that's currently counting through some things, and grabs a small stack of 3 blue tokens that she puts in front. She puts out in 5 distinct stacks. Here, consider this a free taste.
Oh, not very kind of you. Well, we'll certainly be interested in indulging a bit here, but
Isn't this what drug dealers do? She looks.
You'll find a lot of dwarves agreeing with you here in Kovlar. There are a lot of commonalities.
look dealers.
Yes, you get a taste,
What?
and then you want more.
Each of those is 5 gold pieces, so
Oh wow.
use them well.
Oh wow, spectacular. We also did come here to discuss a bit of business, which you might not be wanting to speak about right on the floor,
Yes.
if you get my meaning.
Could we go someplace private?
Of course we could. We can step back. I got offices, of course. This is a guild hall after all. Come on. And she'd lead the group you back around across the floor a decent ways to a stairwell kind of off to the side. That's next to a few restrooms, which with a simple rope in front of it, but another one of the guards standing nearby on the outside on the actual floor. Basically his back to the wall where the entrance to the main stairwell is. And Fortunate would nod to him. He would nod briefly, and she'd just move the rope and usher the group you through upstairs, leading you to a much more traditional upper level. Much more plain, mundane stone hallways. Which actually would be entirely unlit, save for some ambient light coming into the windows from Kovlar outside, as, dwarves don't particularly need the light.
Solas.
Throwing up a quick incantation so you can see where you're going, leading through some various offices, counting rooms, and vaults to either side. She would take you almost immediately into a doorway on the left, into a fairly large office with the floor covered in a massive rug, styled like the tabletop of whatever that dwarven dice game was you saw right by the main door. A little garish, possibly a little ridiculous, but maybe what you expect from the Fortunate at this point. And seated at the end, where the dealer would be, is a curved desk that's not around the seat, but bending outwards, but clearly form over function here. But she doesn't head back to sit behind it. She just heads over, leans against the desk, and just motions for whoever comes in last to close the door behind you.
I appreciate your aesthetic sense of humor.
And I apologize for the lack of light. No, it's a bit difficult for some of you, but, well, not typically something we really need up here.
Easily rectified, and one that any who frequent the cave should be used to providing for themselves.
So, I should have expected you came here on business. You seem a very purpose-driven sort.
Well, yes. I guess that comes of losing pretty much everything along the way.
But did you know, and this is a rather interesting thing I find a whole lot of travelers aren't terribly familiar with, you don't actually have to think about that all the time. Sometimes you can just drink, roll some dice, and enjoy life.
Question.
Yes.
Did you take the anti-magic rune
They take what anti-magic rune?
from the vault? Sorry, it's a long day. and-
What possible reason would I have to take an anti-magic
We've
rune?
already established that she didn't, though.
Well, we asked her first. We've established it, but I want to make sure that she hasn't.
All right, there's clearly some sort of interrogation going here.
No.
Oh no.
No, I don't blame you for it. Not a wee bit. It's a bit of an
I-
unofficial policy of the city of Kovlar to blame the Gamblers Guild for
No,
that.
I've already
Anything that goes
cleared,
wrong or missed.
cleared
We-
you in my mind. I just needed to hear it from your mouth.
I don't understand why
we-
you need to hear that.
We pretty much cleared you at the meeting, practically. I mean, it was pretty obvious what they were trying to do.
Basically, is a formality to ask you to get your answer so that it can be added to the notes for everything we are doing. Long
Alright.
story short, we have found somebody faked your signature and has entered the vault and taken the rune. And then they ripped out the paper. You're being framed.
And when was this again?
Approximately.
I know they spoke of it at the Regents Council, but I wasn't entirely paying attention to the dates.
3 Forge days at
I
this
believe
point.
it was 3 now. It was
And,
2 when we got here.
As you say that, you see for the first time her face kind of darken and an actually relatively serious expression come across it. And she grits her teeth. You can see almost lock her jaw as her hand that she was just kind of rubbing her nose, throws balls into a fist. You know, I suppose I should have put that one together earlier. I guess that's on me. All right.
Well, naturally, since the Guild of Coin was the one who approached us about this, we'd be bringing our findings to them. But given how involved you involuntarily appear to have been, it's only right to come speak with you first.
Well, then I suppose maybe the Gamblers Guild, or more me personally, does perhaps have something merit in your investigation here. The same night my house was broken into.
Oh.
And your badge of office perhaps borrowed for the night.
No. I got told it was in my lockbox where I left it.
It was borrowed.
But-
It was
for the
borrowed
night.
and then put back. That's why they broke in.
They were able to disguise themselves as you, fool the men
Now-
thing.
Believe it or not, in my line of business, I do deal with a fair amount of cheats and charlatans. My lockbox is relatively secure. And I got no reason to believe any it was tampered with. Yeah, even if there's no way they had the key, I have it on me person, basically all the time. And picking into things like that, it does leave marks. Forgive me for assuming, but I'm sure at least one of you is familiar enough to recognize that. Aye?
What if
Yes.
it was an inside map?
An inside
Or-
man won't have the key. There's only one.
The key to your lockbox.
Aye. And she reaches down into her pocket and pulls it out. Pulls out a small, it looks like almost silvered key. It's very tiny, the length of a thumb. Right here.
May I?
I didn't have it on me at the day because I had business to attend to with some meetings. Or the region symbol on me, rather. But the key was on me the whole time.
If a key is copied, there can sometimes be little marks in really specific places.
Again, believe it or not, I do deal with this on a day-to-day basis.
Trishik, will you look at it with me?
I don't mean to be blunt or crass with the group here. I'm not. It
With-
shouldn't be the face of my frustrations here.
We are just
But-
trying to figure out how they could have gotten in using a legitimate symbol from one of the council
Is it
members.
is it
Well, I
Indeed.
can.
possible it could have been one of the council members?
It's
It is.
unlikely. They could have just borrowed. They could have just checked it out themselves. It's
They-
very unlikely that the
well-
council is the one who took it.
I
They
can-
wanted to frame her?
I can almost guarantee you that my regent's sigil hadn't been messed with. I did check that after I was going through trying to figure out what was taken, and it wasn't much, honestly. They took a ruby and sapphire ring that one of the last things I have from my grandmother.
I'm so sorry.
It
So
was not magical, I take it.
it wasn't. But it would be quite valuable pawned, I imagine.
And it would
So it's
make
a
it
bit
look
of a
real.
sore spot.
Well, we'll see if we can get that back for you. I think they did that just to make the robbery look like a normal robbery.
I also need to tell you that obviously, if there is some mess going on here in Kovlar, I don't know what it is, and hopefully the group of you might Scarlet Triad or whatever. But I'm playing this a bit close to the chest. There's not many other my close friends that know about this robbery, so I ask you to not share it, even with the other council members.
We won't.
It's an important part of the investigation that the Guild of Coin may eventually ask about, but we'll respect your wishes. One of the reasons we came to you.
Look, if nothing else, I got a bit of a reputation to upkeep. I run a casino.
Of course, we can
The
explain
gates out,
other
my own
ways.
home's been robbed. Kind of undermines the faith, no?
I can see that,
There,
perhaps.
there are other ways we can
But
explain.
you don't live in the casino, after all.
I don't. But the well-being of my guild and those in my employ is damn sure more important to me than a piece of metal and stone, no matter how much sentimental value it may have.
Roshin, they essentially kicked in the door to her house. It's a matter of reputation and honor. She wouldn't want it known.
And that's the thing, they didn't kick in the door. They picked in a window. Somehow, that's a back window, I suppose it's to an alley, but weren't even in the dead of night. That'll be damn good at it to get in and out without raising a single hair of suspicion and to get through the locks. I run a casino. I don't cheap out on security.
It wouldn't be too difficult with the appropriate resources.
And regardless, it seems that at least this particular person, or at least the group, if it was indeed a group, had some sort of magical backing, being able to actually impersonate you successfully at the vault.
That could also explain how they got back out, because I didn't see any signs of them leaving.
If I wanted to get into your house, I assure you I wouldn't need a key.
I'm aware
It's-
magic exists, even if I'm not proficient myself, but
Well, the fact of the matter is, they either somehow made it into your lockbox and borrowed your sigil, and put it back in such a way that not even your trained eye could notice it, or they broke into your house for an entirely unrelated reason and borrowed a different counselor's sigil without them realizing it.
Not all of the counselors will be as diligent as you with their security.
that much I'm absolutely positive. If for whatever reason they were looking to get their hands on a regent sigil to steal something from the regent's vault, an anti-magic rune or whatever it was, mine's the last one to be wanting to go for it, save for maybe Commander Bronzebeard, and that's only because he'd had to take your head off right in personal if you stole from him. But, I mean, come on! You can't steal it from the Carpenters Guild! The man doesn't even understand what a lock is! Like,
Likely where they got it.
he don't even
from.
lock his front door!
One way or another.
Let's just take a look at the key. Let's just take a look.
But the Guild of Faith, nothing against them, but the Sentinel's 900 goddamn years old. You could barely see a sheet of paper held in front of him. He wouldn't notice if the thing went, I guess, until he needed it again, at least. There's no way they'd come to me to steal it unless they were really hell-bent on pinning it on me specifically, which, again,
It does appear that they
just
are.
part and parcel with Kovlar, I suppose.
Well, perhaps there's that to be considered. Resme, dear,
Yeah, while
remind my memory, when weaving a magical disguise, does it actually help you impersonate someone better if you have something personal of them?
It definitely can, especially depending on what purpose you're trying to impersonate someone for. There are very specific things that you would only be able to do if you had that kind of an arcane link.
It is possible if we went and asked the robot man, he might remember such a distinct ring if they were wearing it.
Call him the robot man to his face, and you have to tell me what he says.
I'm not exactly sure what to call him.
Oh, I needed that. That was nice.
While we're talking, can we just
Uh,
look at the ring?
Yeah, I'm gonna cast Detect Magic.
ring?
The key.
Oh, the key. Yeah, I was like, the ring is gone. The ring is robbed.
No,
It's
the
gone.
key.
Yeah, absolutely. But Detect Magic, as you look it over, it's a very small, non-magical key. And
I'll just look at it closely.
looking through just even what you already know of thievery and lockpicking, like it clearly goes. It doesn't require a roll. It clearly goes to a lock that is relatively complex. It's small, but it's not simple. It doesn't have, I don't know, key terminology. It doesn't have like a very normal,
Teeth.
not teeth, but like flat stem. The part the teeth are even attached to, because your normal key is basically a two-dimensional object that you put in a slot. It's not even that. The key itself is actually cylindrical,
Okay.
bored hollow through the center of the tube itself, with a couple of small notches and holes throughout, and a pair of ridges on the top and bottom on the outside of the chamber. It looks like a lock like that, even for you, would be pretty difficult to pick, because conventional thieves' tools would not really They're not really made for that.
Skeleton key.
I mean, yeah, you have magic and you are also Trishik, so it's like,
You just need the pick that Bosnian Bill and I made.
that kind of key. Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. It's exactly what it is.
I could pick this with a pencil lead.
Taking a look a little bit closer at it non-magically, clearly it's not something someone would notice to the naked eye, but if it does have all of those little holes and indentations, is there anything that looks like it's a little bit waxier in some places, or there's any little
maybe a perception
pieces
check, and you can.
caught
Yeah, that's
in
what
it?
I would
That's
want
a
to
roll.
look
That's
for.
to look. Both of you can roll me a perception check on that, or one can aid the other if you so choose.
It's perception?
Yeah.
I'll aid you.
All right, so you roll first then, Resume. Can't roll in there. It is guarded by rat.
That's going to be a
30 something.
Yeah.
What's your proficiency modifier?
In perception?
Are you expert?
Expert, yeah.
So that's gonna be a plus 1, 2. 'Cause it's critical success.
Yeah.
Okie doke. So at a plus 22, I feel like for the shenanigans, I'm going to reroll that 6. I'm going to find something.
He's got to be able to inspect a key. This is like the most Trishik action that showed up in weeks.
Fantastic.
That's what you get.
That's what I get. That's the fun. That's why you give me the hero.
You drop it.
I just drop it. No, total, that is a 24.
24, looking over the key, you don't see any signs that it's been tampered with. And again, even if it was, even like pressed in clay or something, the simplest form of copying, there would be some sign of that on the key itself, no matter how, or that it would have been cleaned afterwards. It looks a little tarnished from fairly regular use. It doesn't look like it's recently been cleaned or maintained, specifically. I mean, when was the last time you cleaned your keys? And
You gotta go home and do that now.
Good point. Yeah.
Yesterday.
so no efforts
Never.
have been made. Yeah, that's what I thought. No efforts have been made to cover anything up, and you don't see any signs that this has been mechanically copied in any way.
I do not believe anything happened. It is most likely that they stole your ring to impersonate you in someone else's sigil, which could still be missing.
Is that really how magic works? You steal me grandmam's ring, and then what exactly?
So, if I was going to impersonate you and I wanted to be more convincing of it, I would want something that had a strong emotional link to you, something that really meant something to you, something that tied to your identity. Having that could make the magic much stronger.
Possibly strong enough to fool the inevitable.
Well, I suppose that makes sense. The lesson we've learned here today is drink more and care about things less.
Well, actually, I think the lesson we've learned here today is that just because a person doesn't do what you think is necessarily respectable does not mean she is not respectable, because I think you're quite
Look,
nice.
you don't have to tell me. You have to tell maybe 40% of the population of Kovlar, including at least half the council. I'm not, obviously I run a casino, but there's a fair share of people that don't really think the Gamblers Guild should exist.
And how many of them do you think are just jealous they didn't do it first?
Ha! I like you.
The question
I
is,
like you.
how
You're my
many...
favorite lizard I've ever met.
I would imagine you do not meet many of them.
No, I haven't. But there was, let me tell you, this one time, one of these lizard folks, unlike you, came in. Just absolutely flabbergasted by the entire concept of gambling. I don't know if he grew up in a literal swamp or what exactly it was. We tried to set him down, and one of me men, it's not a complicated game. That's not the point. The point is to be so simple that a pissed drunk dwarf can still lose all their money at the table. We try to explain to him, simplest concept. You roll dice, you get number, you're aiming for a thing, wagers go out. Would not stop putting the rocks in his mouth. I swear to you. Is that a thing?
Some lizard folk literally live their entire life in the swamp. For him to have found his way down here is very lucky.
You
I
turn
met-
around.
I met a Ruxie once who actually ate stones. Said it helped with his digestion.
That was what I was worried about.
You turn around. Severin has 2 chips in his mouth, and he kind of is looking really awkward, and then he drops them.
Matash just has a die he's picked up off the floor, and he's like this shaking it like he's gonna roll it.
Roshin's just gonna surreptitiously count her 3 chips to make sure they're still there.
If you pick up the right lizard folk at the right time of day and you tilt him over, he sounds like one of those rain rods.
Look,
Can we see your lockbox just real quick?
Well, it'd be at her house, wouldn't
you
it?
really need to come to my house.
No.
Look, I can give you this. I can 100%. Now, I am very much a betting woman. And I'd wager if we go downstairs right now, Shalia's still here. And she was here the other day when my house was broken into. And I'm pretty sure that she can verify. Hold on, come with me.
Oh.
Fair enough.
And she'll open the door to her office and just stride back out. She's got a kind of a grin on her face.
Are you sleeping with her?
And she has... Gods, no. Wish.
Employees, can you imagine?
No, she ain't an employee, just a regular.
Oh, fair enough.
See?
Then.
That's fine.
Heads down the stairs and immediately turns her head out to a table and just points. She's like, perfect. Come here. She approaches the table where Shalia's sitting there gambling, playing some dice. Like, Shalia! And she turns and just waves a hand. She's a squat little dwarf. Pretty ginger
Mid-rolling
hair.
dice just...
A couple of big, rough braids at the back of her head. Kind of just very standard. Looking like she's not... Well, she's decently well off as far as Kovlar standards are concerned. Enough to be able to come here pretty regularly to the point where Fortunate Cave Scream knows her.
Does she
comes
look
down...
like the type to consider worshipping Abadar?
Not really, no.
Okay.
She's in a casino. I actually don't know what F. Abadar has any particular views on gambling.
It's money being transferred for goods and services.
Yeah, if it's legitimate, I guess there's never really have a problem with it.
She might like Zonkuthon.
Anyway, as they come down, she kind of looks and sees her leading a group of what appear to be incredibly heavily armed assorted people
I'm not armed.
and a rat. And she just kind of looks at everybody else, go, "Oh, have I done something? I'm not looking for a repeat a couple days back." Kind of a nervous chuckle, and Case just kind of lays her hand. No, Shalia, don't worry. That's actually what I'm here about. That's unprompted, you see. So you remember, what was it, 3 Forge nights ago? Forge Fire. It was, last Forge Fire. Would you like to tell these fine folk a brief summary of what happened? They're very interested to hear the story. And Shalia looks, I suppose I could. Hold on. I don't know if I've put quite enough ale in me to retell this one yet. There's a man that came in. Is this are you trying to warn these folk off? These look like fine enough travelers. They look like they're good for their coin. You gotta hit them with the fear-mongering immediately.
Oh yes, do hit me with the fear-mongering, please, please.
This lad came in here. A wee bab, but can't have been over 45 years of age.
Hey.
Sat down at the table with his date. I got it in his head that winning a bunch of money at the whims of fortune was how he was gonna win her little heart. And he was gonna do that via, well, not exactly subtle methods of cheating. Look, the Gamblers Guild here. I'll give you a word of advice, I suppose, is what the Fortunate wants from me. Don't do that. These dealers got eyes like owls up on the surface. And they can feel the tremors in the earth when something's wrong in the cards and the bones they hit the table right. Long story short, he threw a fit when he was called out on the whole thing. And Fortunate herself picked him up by the back of his belt and physically hurled him out the front gates. And throwing a barrel of trash after him, if I recall correctly. And Fortunate just got a smile on her face. I did. So, thank you. Enjoy your evening, Shalia. Always better told. You got a knack for it, don't you? So, I was here.
Who was he?
I
don't
see
know.
you're accounting for your present. I was really wondering where the story was going, but it was very interesting at the same time. It was quite entertaining.
It seems that if he was doing something that obvious, that he was trying to create maybe some sort of distraction.
Oh, I'm
No,
sure
no,
he thought it was very subtle. We deal with his type quite regularly, but usually they leave rather quietly. But you know, I guess he didn't think I'd do it.
Well,
But this is what's important. Your fortunate ship has an alibi.
Indeed. I got regulars and dealers here that could both vouch for being here at Eve. Fortunately, it was a fine day and a right entertaining one until I got home.
all right. Well, I think we've gathered what we need to gather, and we've told you what we need to tell you.
We can go report to the Gilded Coin. Oh,
You don't
goodness
look right
gracious.
knackered. Right, you don't use the same forge days up on the surface, do you?
No, we've been out for about 18 hours at this point.
Machine,
You don't have to tug on my sleeve.
can we play a game though?
Oh, of course, of course. Gambling while tired is always an excellent idea.
The very worst is free money. We lose it, it was not
Marshall's
ours.
already at the tables.
And there's plenty more tokens for you at the exchange counter if you're having a good time. I'll send around the drinks down to you. We'll find you, don't worry. You're very visible.
It's bright enough in this place. I don't think I'll be falling asleep
But
anytime soon.
Truly, I thank you for bringing this to me. And not going straight back to the Gilded Coin, whatever it was you found. It seems like you rooted through this well enough to figure your heads on straight where you came up here, which is wise. But I suppose it's unsurprising they tried to pin it on me. Thought it might be the most believable suspect.
Most believable suspect, perhaps, but certainly the most work required to get everything you needed.
Yes. Well, watch your back, okay?
Ironic casino.
Oh, good point.
Should, though, you find something that might require attention, do let us know.
We'll burn it down.
That I don't doubt for a moment. Well, may the dice roll in your favor. Enjoy the rest of your day. How much longer that might actually be.
Raz, blow on it.
Is there actual gambling mechanics? Or
There are not mechanics, but as this is a dice game, which is almost purely one of chance, especially for those unfamiliar,
can we do the just roll a d20?
you could absolutely. How much do you want to put in? She gave you 15 golden tokens each.
All three of them.
All right, you want to bet 15 gold on this? Roll me 2d6.
I'm not gonna bet that much.
I'm down. Let's throw it out
this.
there.
Look, Marshall said he was already. Marshall said he immediately went and sat down.
Yeah, exactly.
So Marshall, give me 2d6.
I need to.
Oh yeah, Marshall, go ahead.
I'm gonna borrow one of yours.
Hey, use the malachite. It's the good one.
You always
You always say that.
You always say that.
He's right. 1 in 6 times.
Yeah. 5.
3.
5. What matters is that you tried.
Yep.
The dice do not go great for Marshall this day. And at least it wasn't your money you were betting, but
Yeah,
the free
true.
money. Well, easy come, easy go. Rashik?
8, 6, and a 2.
8. You were cruising well enough that after a couple of rounds of this, you haven't really had any major movements. You're largely still chilling at 15 gold. You could continue if you wanted to, but you're kind of hanging out at cruising altitude here.
A 5 and a 1 for 6.
6 is
right
still
in the middle.
cruising altitude here. Trashik's just gonna be here for the rest of the night. He's not gonna sleep.
4 and a 1 for a 5.
That you would lose probably half your cash. You'd be on 7 gold.
All right. I'll put a half of one on the pile there.
You
There we
maybe
go.
have enough time for one more before you really. Well, and this is like an hour of Trashik sitting
3.
gambling before the rest of your money is gone.
It's not my money. That's why I'm having fun with
looks
it.
at the dealer. Can I add something? I want to make this a little more fun. If I win, you do a handstand and drink
he
that.
immediately points down to a scheme they have of the payouts and everything on the table. As is.
I'm not
You
asking
can
for
take it to
anything
the player
extra.
hall if you want on strange business. And he turns to because he got like 12 players going at once on this. So like,
Oh. 8.
cruising. It's like 15
not our
minutes of
money.
gamba.
That doesn't know how to gamble.
Yeah, Rat doesn't know how to gamble. You guys suck at this.
We'll tell you what, Raz.
It's almost like you don't even know what the goal is.
I'll give you one of my chips, and if you lose it, then you have to do a handstand for the rest of the night. How
Yeah.
about that?
handstand, and if I win, you do a handstand and drink this. And he just holds up a pitcher of ale.
What's your dex?
Fair enough.
Just out of raw curiosity.
It's 10.
You train in acrobatics?
Roshin gets a
Just out of raw
Roshin gets a
curiosity.
pitcher of ale out of it.
That's fair.
And
All right,
I'm
Rat.
wearing plate.
All right, Rat.
Give me that die back. 5.
On your hands, on your hands.
Raz goes ahead. Raz is on his hands.
These shenanigans are not uncommon within the whims of fortune. And
Okay.
very much encouraged as they try to keep their drunk people here. After like 5 minutes of your rolling here, pitchers of ales would have arrived for the entire group if you stayed to roll around. And Rishan, you got 10 gold left in here.
Sure, let's do it.
This is definitely what Paizo wants their family-friendly stream. Literal gambling.
A 7.
20 gold, you say?
Do I say? Oh, wow, okay.
Putting the 10 down, Rasheen, like, what am I doing? And then dropping it, and with her 2 blue tiles on the table, the dealer slides 2 more back over to you.
Severin
Utterly
immediately
confused
takes
about
one.
the fact that she apparently won.
I'll take one of the chips
Wait.
and buy a round for the table.
Severin takes the other.
But my 8 didn't win?
Yeah, he did not know.
I have a feeling Squid is making decisions about what he wants the dice to mean.
Probably.
So, well, you're back to 15 where you started. One for the table, one
Let
for
it
the reds.
ride.
It's not our money.
8.
8, it's riding.
Another round for the table.
So you done at 10?
Yes. 9.
At 9, that would dwindle to 5 with maybe enough time for one more before you really should probably get back to sleeping.
Just take the last chip, buys a round for the table. Yes.
I won one! Resme,
Resme,
who
let's.
is just barely an adult.
I can do it.
Six,
Yep.
cruising. Fluctuating a bit, you're hanging out.
9.
9.
9, maybe down to 7 gold.
Five.
You guys are terrible at this.
Oh, I lost.
Maybe down to 5 gold, you got like one more shot in you.
Snake eyes.
Triple up.
That's quad, actually.
Back to 20.
Her last shot. Goes home positive. Back up to 20 off of the 15 the Fortunate Cave Scream gave you.
I am going to cash it in, and we are going home.
As you are going to take your winnings, take your 20 gold, and go home.
We did our legally required gambling.
You guys did your best. It wasn't great, minus Resme, who actually did fantastic on the last moment. But as you head back to the Gold Sky Inn to rest for the evening, probably a good time to take our break, I suppose.
Oh, yeah.
It would have been a relatively late night for the group of you, which continues to feel a little bit awkward based on the fact that, you know, your schedule doesn't line up at all. This is like the height of the day in Kovlar. This is the midst of the Forge Day. This is when the business is happening. But man, circadian rhythms are a bitch.
It's okay, guys. You know what
I mean,
I'm going
I'm
to do
still
with this
up.
20 gold? I'm buying us all the best dinner and drink Kovlar has to offer and massages at a parlor that I've just found that apparently gives the best massages in town.
The best what in town?
Massages, like for your back.
For my back?
Yeah, you know, to work your muscles out.
I do that every day just by wearing my plate as I walk around.
You should have heard it earlier. She had the, what was the man's name?
Oh, I've just been kind of calling him Shiny in my head.
The Adarned you
The
talking about?
fashion man.
The Adarned, yes.
She had him hook their arms together and lean forward, and it sounded like another bone devil had come.
No, that's my dear, if you're looking for a date for the night.
Oh, I've been leaning down looking for strange runic in the wall all day. It looked like this. Like a grandma. Now
We'll be back
We'll be back.
in a couple of minutes, everyone. Thank you for hanging out. Don't go too far. Feel free to use the bathroom, refill your drinks.
No bathrooms, not allowed.
You're
No
not allowed.
bathrooms. No, there is no peeing during the
Piss
perception
in
show.
your
You must
chair.
wait.
You're before the Dwarven Council.
No peeing.
No kidding.
We have
No
one rule.
I'm a rat.
One rule.
You broke it. You
I'm
suck.
a rat.
We'll be right back,
right
everybody. Unfortunately, I must end this highlight here, as beautiful as it is, because we have more Pathfinder to play. But if you want to find the rest of that highlight or any of a huge bucket of other dumb highlights from our show, as well as the entirety of this campaign, episode by episode. You can find it over at youtube.com/2perception, which is never immediately below me when I want it to be. But it's okay, because it will show up down here in a moment. And I had another thing. It probably wasn't super important because I forgot it.
I don't know. Seems legit.
Patreon?
No, in
No,
the
but
middle.
Thanks to
In the middle, you say Sirenscape.
I was gonna say the third thing was thanks again to Paizo and Sirenscape for sponsoring the show, and Sirenscape for giving us all the cool ambiance and everything. By the way, we haven't gotten a ton of incredible Sirenscape value recently because hanging out in town time is just sort of it does its background job. It's ambiance. It's not super obvious, but it's there. It's getting set in the scene. But oh man, I was putting together sound sets for later the other day. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
I'm excited. I made a real good one. I made a real good Sirenscape soundboard.
Is it a fart?
This is a cool toy for later. No, but I have a different story about how Sirenscape absolutely debated me with a fart sound before. Because I was trying to put together some more for the crown stuff. And they have a whole sound set that's a sewer.
It's gonna be the giant
And there's a lot of...
Otyug.
There was a sewer crawling Otug thing that showed up, and they have a button in the sewer with all these think if you're thinking sound ambiance for a sewer, you got like slowly bubbling slop and there's some running water and strange
Slappy
noises in
toes
the
when you walk
distance and
around.
like rat squeaking, and they have a thing called gas releases. Which I was sure was gonna be like steam hissing or something. It's actually just fart sounds.
Just in the middle of a super serious,
got me.
everybody's fighting.
I got you
and then
baited.
suddenly,
Well, fortunately, I found this immediately upon putting the set together. Because like I was building it for the crown. I was like, oh yeah, steam hisses. That sounds cool. And I hit it and just went, oh, okay, that's not what I wanted at all. But I'm glad to know that button exists.
In all fairness, you might as well keep those because you know Marshall.
I could just have it playing at all times for Marshall just ripping absolute ass in the distance, whatever he's doing, whatever it is that he is after. But I feel like no.
That's why he's so angry. He's just in constant
wait.
tummy pain.
So what would it sound like when he's
No.
Mega Marshall?
No.
Would it be like a foghorn?
So as we left off, the group of you had finally reconvened back at the inn to rest for the evening. And I found my pet suit. Means I
Yay.
can mark it a day off the calendar, which is what I wanted it for. And you are resting again through the majority of the Forge Day here. Because the Forge Day is long. It's so long, in fact, that while you're going to sleep at approximately the middle of the Forge Day, when you awaken, the Forge Day will still be going for another hour or two. Now, so even after you have had your full 8 hours of rest, your body telling you that although you cannot see it, the sun has left. By the time it returns, the dwarves are still working.
Is this what a hangover feels like?
Did you drink a bunch at the casino?
No, this is like the Pathfinder version of jet lag.
So you're sleeping on your regular schedule.
I
Jet
know.
lag's when you adjust to somebody else's schedule.
We are adjusting to somebody else's schedule. 'cause
I'm not
it's so-
adjusting to anybody else.
You're
not
sleeping
adjusting
absolutely. You
at all.
refuse to adjust the Forge
Yeah.
nights. You're working on your own schedule.
As you guys are waking up, Marshall's just kind of sitting there with his beer like, stop.
Perhaps we should.
Beer in a
He's used to
teacup.
this.
Yeah,
beer
beer in a
closet.
teacup.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The way you're holding it, this made it look like you're just.
Pinky out,
Pinky's
everyone.
out.
he's got an entire keg with Pinky out.
So I guess we should go find this missing guy.
We haven't gotten the information yet on that. Marshall's relative hasn't made good with it yet. Did you get a name for this person, or are they just going to be like mysterious?
Oh,
missing
her name is Scarlet.
Scarlet.
Like the Scarlet Triad.
Seriously? That's her name?
I'm not-
Actually, Scarlet.
I'm not kidding, believe it or not.
I suppose
In
it's,
her defense, it is Scarlet with 2 T's. Was that
Oh, is it-
better?
I suppose it was fated then. Nothing for it. It's not her fault.
Complete coincidence. What happens sometimes.
Sometimes you're just born into what you're supposed to do.
I was destined for this.
So, my beard was supposed to catch fire when I transformed? That makes sense.
Clearly.
I mean, yeah, well, you turned to a fire giant. You're named Emberbeard, so you have glass houses, Marshall. Glass houses.
Well, I guess if they have The dwarf. We have another hour before this dwarven city goes to sleep again. I suppose we could. I suppose you could call into the guild a coin, report your findings. We cleared it with a fortune. Nothing stopping us now.
We don't exactly have much findings aside from it happened.
Well, fortunate was framed for it. That was interesting enough.
Yes, but until we can discover more, it might not be even worth reporting. So far, we know exactly what they told us.
I agree with Trishik. I don't think it's very significant yet.
All right, well, fair enough. We have an hour left to move forward here. Well, let's take a look at the notes and see what else we have. We don't have any leads yet on Talos. Although there is the road out of town, we could always just go and check it out. But let's see here.
We could check out the.
We could dredge
forge.
the lake. We could see about that one. Sorry, you saying?
The forging reports of all the bad.
Oh yes, the poor quality metals.
Those
and all
are, I
that.
believe, the 2 left that have been completely uninvestigated. Or the strange.
I wrote notes too.
Loser.
He's got on his little like.
You can tell how rarely this man writes notes because he literally wrote it on the back of his
One of the paper
freaking
things that comes
Chessex
in
label from the dice container.
And it's not full yet either. So.
No,
You have a
we got little
notebook!
more room. The notebook's covered in dice.
He's got a point.
That's his dice holding notebook.
Speaking of dice, in an unrelated note, which is just going to be super neat the next time I get to hit you with things.
Oh,
You know what Paizo actually sent me the other day?
What they say?
Age
Is
of
the
Ashes
actual
official
Age
dice
of
set.
Ashes dice.
Oh wow.
So I have an entirely new
I was wondering where this came from.
subset. I did just leave that over there because I have
It's
no
the
use
pile
for
of
percentile die.
percentiles.
Yeah, you had a bunch of percentile dice. I just threw it over there. They actually sent me the official Age of Ashes dice. So now I get to kill you with an entirely different set of dice next
You want to
time.
throw it in
With
the
some-
dice tray so we can take a look at it?
Some flair.
I don't know if it will show up super good on camera.
Okay,
We can
orange
at
on
least see
orange.
them.
Let me give you that, and let me give you the D6,
Yeah, let's try
so
it.
we can pop them in there.
Is that legible?
The D6 is definitely like the camera's a little bit out of focus.
Camera's a little bit-
It's kind of wonky today.
Hold them a little like higher up.
Put the D6 on the 6. Put it on the 6. You don't have to actually roll until you get a 6. You can't just put it there.
Oh, hey, look at that. It's an actual fire.
Yeah.
Oh, and this other fire thing, that's the 20 on that. Look at that.
It's got little murder fire for the incineration that the Age of Ashes is gonna do.
A little flair.
Oh.
So if you want some neat dice to add a little bit of flavor
I
to
see
your
what you did there.
adventures,
Adds a
little
little flair.
flair.
Little flair.
Come on, I just said it twice.
That was
mean-
magnanimous.
The worst part is when somebody actually makes a good one, it gets ruined by
This-
whatever Jen says
that
next.
does not spark joy.
It does not inspire joy whatsoever.
But anyway, what are the group of you after your morning preparations? Maybe
well, I'm a.
pursuing?
If you didn't finish that, I was gonna say I'm a lizard folk.
Nice. I suppose we could go to the lake. I am kind of worried about what happened to those people.
Perhaps we should
We-
check the Anviler, though, perhaps. She did stick her neck out. It'd probably be good to go and take a look at her. At
We
least
would need
look
to
at
get
the
the
goods.
If we're going out on lake, we do need to get the boat.
That is true, and at the end of the forge day, men might have difficulties getting it for us. They might be packing them up right now. We can check it out later, I suppose. Or, just help ourselves if need be.
I mean, if we need to, it would not be difficult. Everybody will be asleep.
Then we'll all be on the same boat.
All the dwarves go to sleep at the same time. It's very convenient for people wanting to list activities.
It's actually great for crime.
Oh, there's
Oh,
a set schedule.
not dwarven criminals.
90% of
Oh yeah, the dwarven
everybody.
criminals are sleeping. They can't do crime.
They can't do crime, yeah.
As long as you stay away from the southern area where all the this is for normal people scheduled people are, and there will actually be people awake, you can commit heinous crimes throughout the rest of the day. No one's awake to stop you.
There are literal guard patrols.
No
We've
one's
been
awake to
over
stop
this.
you. They're asleep.
They're asleep. They're sleepwalking guards.
It's nighttime. Why would they be awake?
What are they, birds?
They're like birds.
It's like, oh.
All the
Oh
dwarves.
dang it! Oh my god, just on the road.
That's the
They
secret
were
to being a
walking
successful
around.
thief in Kovlar. You walk around with blankets and you just throw them over people.
You just throw a pillow on the road and the guard sees it, it's like, oh. So comfortable.
It's like the bucket on people's heads. Oh, can't see
Exactly.
me stealing. You're falling asleep right now.
Humph. All right. That was
So
that
it
was
sounds like
around the corner, sing a lullaby, and they'll go to sleep.
sounds like we're heading to the Anvilers Guild.
yeah.
Yes.
Are we all proceeding there together?
Yeah.
Might as well.
Not this way.
So the group of you make
Biceps,
your way
biceps.
over to the Anvilers
Yes.
Guild, where in relatively short order, you are once again able to meet with Nissan and Thunderflare, the Forge Master of the Anvilers Guild, and the de facto has the Regent's Council, who has just the narrowest art. It's so hard to get it up on my NPC window thing. It doesn't take long. You obviously are, again, incredibly identifiable, and the higher members of the Anvilers Guild are quick to fetch the Forge Master for you. And as she emerges from the back where she has been hard at work, actually visibly covered in a bunch of smears of various soot and coal, almost head to toe at this point in the Forge Day. Reaching up with a rag that really does not look like it's going to do a whole lot to help the situation. It has already seen far too much use for this purpose. Wipes off her face at least a little bit, smearing it around somewhat.
It's more uniform.
There's somewhere under there is a Forge Master. And she welcomes the group of you. And takes you about a little further away from the magma channel where it's not 105 degrees. But rather than taking all the way back up to the office, it's just quickly outside the Anvilers Guild, outside of the front steps of the road. And it's a fair late hour of the evening.
It's early. We just woke up.
We're still on
Right.
surface time.
Understandable. Well,
Selfish growth.
how go your investigations?
Proceeding with some progress, I'm pleased to say.
Oh, that's good. That's fun. That's good to hear. It's fantastic. Have you... progress is progress. I can only hope that you were angling to help out with this rash, strange merchandise we had.
Just so.
Indeed.
Early hour is late, but forges are still lit for now. Besides, I think there's something rather quick you can look at. That's, well, at least confirm my fears. Now we can go from there, I suppose. Always helps to get an outside eye on things sometimes. Come with me to the House of Oaths. It's not far.
Of course.
And she would take you from the Anvilers Guild. It really is not a terribly long distance. Out from the Earthfire District. Around straight down the main road to an L-shaped building, kind of mirrored across from the main clock tower, out on the eastern end of town, before it starts to descend down to Blue Crab Lake and these lower docks and bathhouses and other sorts of buildings. The inside of the House of Oaths is very much quiet, and the walls seem to dampen noise fairly well, and there's near nothing coming from inside, as it's a lot of clerical work, a lot of secretaries either managing very simple organization or mundane tasks, recording things into different ledgers. The wing that you go into seems to have to be library as well. But she leads you past a lot of this, and past the entry with a massive statue of a dwarven deity that's anybody expert in religion would probably just recognize. It's common enough. Coles the Oathkeeper is... Dwarven deities don't really have direct analogous comparisons to the human deities. He's the god of duty, the god of oaths. It's kind of similar to Abadar being like the god of law and civilization, but only vaguely. There's really not a fantastic analogous thing. The Dwarven pantheon is very different, as their
The god of keep your promises.
exactly their character and their culture, the things that they think are important, the things that they think are really pillars of what makes a person good and righteous, really is quite different from what humans believe on the surface.
Makes sense.
Evolved in two very different societies. But this seems to be their local law offices. And she takes you through to a back office that she opens with the actual regent's pendant that she has hanging around her neck, enabling her to get into a fairly small study, probably only a hair larger than this room, really. Looks like it's mostly for a bunch of official notation and storage of records and things of that sort. But the desk that she has in here, simple and relatively small, probably uniform with the rest of the offices, is currently cluttered with an assortment of various weapons. Maces, warhammers, long swords. There's nothing so massive as a halberd or other polearms in here, or no enormous two-handed weapons, but a lot of simple things that she could keep on her desk. As she enters, she gestures to this spread. What's this? This is a good share of the merchandise that's come back returned within the last 15 or so floor stays. 7 pieces here. It's an incredible turnover and absolutely unacceptable for the Anvilers Guild. I've already taken a decent look through these, but again, I can't entirely escape my own bias. Are you familiar with forging?
Indeed.
I am familiar with crafting, but forging not
I know.
particular.
I know the theory.
Crafting check would be... You could just roll perception, but it's going to be relatively difficult if you're not really well versed in what you're looking for. But a crafting check is going to be the main thing you're going to be rolling to kind of look some of these over.
I'll put on my crafting eyepiece.
Okay. So who wants to roll, and who wants to aid who, or how are we doing this?
I'm probably going to be honestly using perception because that's actually higher for me. But considering my background of making weaponry, I would at least know what to look for.
You know, you have an idea what you're looking for, yeah.
Because I made my own axe, so that's only fair.
Do you want to roll an all assist, or do you want me to roll an you'll assist? It's up to
I
you.
can do the main roll.
Okay.
All right, so we'll start with martial perception real quick.
Not bad.
Pretty good.
That is going to be a 33.
With a 33, looking through, giving it a fairly decent inspection, the weapons seem to be a fine, well enough make. These aren't pristine pieces. These aren't.
They're okay.
Yeah, these aren't like something you'd keep for showmanship. These are probably pieces that were forged by a relatively highly skilled smith for just day-to-day sale and operations. Looking through the 7, you can see at least 4 different brands, 4 different makers' marks into the pommels of the various weapons, signifying that they were certainly smithed by different folk, different dwarves that were the masters of these. But there's nothing overtly really wrong about them. So Tricia, or Resume, if you're aiding, give me yours first.
It's going to be a 29,
So
and I'm an expert.
It doesn't matter unless you crit. So it'll be a +1. So Tricia, you will get a +1 to your crafting check.
All right. Unfortunately, that is a 5 on the dice. So that
Guys are
gives
so
me
bad at rolling dice.
25.
With a 25, as you look over these, you can tell kind of much the same. That they're not. I mean, they're well made. The smithing is when I say they're not great, I don't mean that they're of poor quality. I mean that they're not really elaborate. They're purpose-built weapons. They are built to do what they do. They're simplistic. There's no superfluous bells or whistles. No fancy design here. The sword is a blade, a cross guard, and a pommel. And nothing much more than that. No real decoration. Simplistic, but functional, and again, pretty well made.
Can you show me some weapons that were properly made, ones that are not more recent, that have the same maker's marks on them, so we can compare the marks?
Well, I could certainly find something. I don't have anything else here, and given the space, I don't really store much but records in this room.
Trishik, a thought occurs to me. I'm not really much of a crafter, mind you, but I've seen certainly the alchemical reagents that you and Resme put together, and perhaps they might be able to detect some sort of flaw in it. If you could perhaps, I know you keep your labs on you, perhaps it'd be good to go look at it from that perspective.
I can definitely test for a possible impurity, but
It's-
I can't give you exact compositions, just if there is traces.
And it might
I'm-
even be an impurity in the metal or something applied afterwards.
I'm less concerned about the actual make of the weapons than I am about the fact that the marks themselves were forged so that they were put on weapons that are not actually made here.
Just a quick curiosity. Would Marshall be able to distinct exactly what was wrong with some of the weapons? Like, was there like a blade that was dulled out or something?
No, there's
right,
nothing that's like
super obvious.
surface obvious, really visible. They look fine enough, though plain.
Okay.
So I guess, can I take a few samples and spend a while testing, see if there's anything that shouldn't be there?
I don't see why not. You may be able to find anything you'd be finding with alchemy. I imagine would be something of a flaw of the metal and the core materials itself, rather than the craftsmanship, which I suppose could also be to blame for such woes. But
It wouldn't be difficult for somebody to slip additive into the different components.
Or perhaps to add something later after it had been finished and sent to storage. I strongly suspect that the craftsmanship qualities of the Anvilers Guild would not nearly permit such high levels of poor craftsmanship to slip through.
no, not at all. Why is a suspect?
And
I
which
have
is
actually had my hands on powder once before that did exactly that. You guys remember the
Yeah.
the
Oh,
door
yeah.
in the warehouse with the
Which we never actually used. The next time the person
Yeah.
went to open the door, it would have just come off in her hand.
so bad.
but it exclusively over a long period of time weakens the health of an item or a metal object that you put it on.
Right. So yeah, absolutely. You could attempt to assess it alchemically. That would still be a
That would probably
crafting-
take a while.
Yeah, that would take you a bit. You would be spending much of the rest of the hour
Can
of the
I-
Forge Day.
Can I, using Bardic Lore, look over it too? Just out of
Yeah,
reading?
yeah, you can give it
I've
a
seen
shot
that
while he's
before.
getting his stuff together.
Yeah, I've read basic theories about forging and dwarven smiths somewhere.
I'm a bard.
Make metal hot, hit with hammer.
You know what?
He has heard things.
I am a bard. I know
It's about
thing.
time to get a bardic lore roll.
I know thing.
Say it with feeling and it works.
That's a total of a 34.
So with a 34, as you start picking these up, Raz almost just kind of idly looking at him, almost more curiosity, anything. Raz is actually the one
His little rat nose starts twitching.
that could start to see some of the very subtle flaws in the construction here. Clearly, these weapons were made by a decent enough smith. And honestly, at a certain level, especially, growing up in a dwarven city and being a dwarf, taking an ingot and forging a blade that is largely the correct shape and holds an edge it's not massively difficult. But that's not what makes a weapon good. That's not what makes a blade valuable. There's a lot more to that. There is how well that edge retains, resists dulling and chipping, especially in weapons, through very rigorous use. There are the ways that the what's it called?
Balance.
The tang manages to hold correctly in the handle, and so that the blade will actually stay as a corrected part of the weapon. There's the balance. There's a lot more to it, and these weapons are simple enough that it's not immediately apparent. They easily surpass the bar of make a thing that's shaped like a sword that is sharp. But you can see very subtle indications that beyond that, they wouldn't last. These weapons may look like they're okay now, but these edges aren't hardened to a point as they should be. The metal isn't it hasn't been quenched properly. After a couple of swings in an actual battle, these would start to chip and wear almost immediately. In some of them, even the tang's not even properly set far enough down in the handle, only going maybe halfway through, and given a particularly vicious blow, the entire blade may very much come loose.
That'd be real fun.
Looks superficially fine, because they made a weapon-shaped weapon, but it looks almost as if somebody knows, or some people know enough to pass casual inspection, but certainly not the standard of the Anvilers Guild.
So they're really good forgeries.
They're not even so much forgeries.
Wait.
They're just
They're
Bad
making
weapons.
defective weapons on purpose.
They're just kind of defective. Yeah, they're just not good enough quality. Like, they won't hold up. But like, they're weapons. You could definitely take a sword and go stab someone and they'll probably die.
Well,
It was
like-
take your dwarf kid to work day. and
Yeah,
I
that's
think
exactly what it looks like it would be. Like it's
I
just
mean-
someone who just isn't good enough to make a real long-lasting weapon.
That makes me even more curious to see marks that match these so we can see whether or not somebody just put the maker's mark on these.
Cool.
It could also be that someone doing it on purpose is good enough to pass inspection, but obviously these would not hold up.
But with all the eyes around this place, there's no way you could sit there and forge a weapon in front of everyone and do it consistently and not get caught unless they're doing it in another place and
Well,
then
it's
sneaking
not-
them in.
Not to mention the quantity here. The quantity here is enough to perhaps cause issue with some of the merchants and perhaps certainly with the head of the Anvilers Guild, but it's not enough to actually like harm an armory's worth of weapons. These are a handful in an entire shipment. This
Exactly.
is something. It's almost as if, yes, occasionally an apprentice level crafter came in, knocked out a few swords, tossed them in the dung pile, and then left for the day. It's very curious.
Well, in many cases, forging a single weapon isn't the project of a single forged day. It's a project of many. What could be weeks on the surface by a standard calendar. Our weapons, even the most simplistic, are produced through pretty rigorous methods. And we don't abide by any kind of flaws such as these or anything that's going to wear so easily over time. The reputation of our guild staked on that. We don't batch make weapons. Each of our master craftsmen is working a single blade or maul or whatever the current project is at a time, giving it their full attention until the project is done and completed.
Well, let me ask you this, though. Even though you have one master crafter who's overseeing the weapon, might he have several journeymen doing some of the more mundane work that might overlap on some of these weapons?
Of course. And there are plenty of weapons as simple as these, perhaps, could quite well be banged out in a single forge day. What was much the original purpose of the forge day itself, to allow time for the crafting, firing of the forges, to craft, smith, and finish and sharpen a weapon in one go. It was the relatively simple amount of time that it would take a trained hand to craft a single sword. And the journeymen, lots of the times in their learning, of course, they're working their own projects, they're working their own crafts, but they're not working merchandise that's sold by the Anvilers Guild. They may either have their own collections, most of them are keeping them as shows of their work for their own masters. Some of the master deems worthy himself, the guild may sell. But it's not as if, well, as you said, any apprentice could come by, bang out a sword, and drop it in the dung pile.
What you're saying though, these defects occurred during the crafting process.
Where? I got a question. When you're getting ready to sell swords, where do you store them, or do they go out immediately? Do you put them in one area and then sell them as a batch, or?
Typically, we are backlogged on orders. We have abilities to sell some simple weapons we try to keep in stock. Between supplying the Guild of Arms and all those throughout Kovlar and any traveling by who wish for our wares, usually our orders are pre-sold before they're even crafted.
So there is no storage. It just goes right out the door to
Very
the customer.
little.
I really want to see the marks.
It's possible that there is an apprentice who is purposely switching things out in the show of pride, perhaps.
But I like to think that I run a tight smith. And so far, if there is one man or woman responsible, they've evaded my detection.
Is
And
there,
it's becoming a problem.
is there a sign-off or some sort of record of, aside from the master, who works on a weapon?
We have an assortment of records. But a lot of the times, most of those who are purchasing weapons don't exactly keep a proper pedigree. And we don't serial individual weapons unless they're of a particularly exquisite make, in which case they're much easier to track properly.
Understood.
All of these were simple enough that I imagine the smiths probably don't even remember making them individually.
Makes
It's a
sense.
single day's work for most of this.
All right.
Theaters? Don't know. I truly don't exactly know what's going on. Obviously, these are all purchases that were funded to the various merchants that have come through with profuse apology, but starting to worry for our reputation.
Let's go see the other weapons.
Yes, and perhaps we can follow. Perhaps it might be worthwhile to stay a bit inside the actual crafting hall itself. Watch the chain of the weapons and how they're moved. After all, the weapons have to be stored somewhere overnight.
Of course. You're more than welcome to watch inside the Antlers Guild if you wish, but as I said, if there's any kind of subterfuge happening, I doubt it's happening there. It wouldn't have to just evade my gaze. They'd have to somehow evade the eyes of all the other masters in the guild who are suffering for this shoddy work. And they're chomping at the bit as hard as anyone to get this taken care of. It'd be near impossible for something to fly undetected for so long.
I suppose it's worth just giving it a quick look, though. She'll throw a quick detect magic on them, just to make sure that we don't miss anything, to make sure that there wasn't some sort of curse or anything put on them.
And with your magic detection, as you kind of throw that over these, just to see if there's anything that really catches your eye.
The curse monster jumps out and eats you.
The sword gets up and starts punching you in the face.
Dimension door.
Mine hurts.
All of these swords and maces and warhammers, none of them would have any kind of runes. They all would be non-magical, and they would have no magical signatures across them whatsoever.
All right. There's nothing of any magical nature on them. Yeah, they're just...
We have to check out different things, and we don't have much time left to do it. Perhaps we could split up. We could see the staging area. Perhaps we could look at... Well, these are clearly crafting issues from what Raz pointed out. It has to be occurring during the crafting process or afterwards when it's swapped, if something is swapped in from somewhere else.
Well, I could go on the floor with some of the other apprentices and whatnot while they're working and maybe observe.
It could be something useful.
The only idea I'd come up with was perhaps some of you posing as merchants in the town trying to buy wares from the Antlers Guild and see if anything crawls out, but
I could do that.
I don't know how much merit you really have there, honestly.
Well, honestly, we wouldn't have to pose very much. We're travelers from afar. We're adventurers. We use arms and armor on a daily basis to safeguard our lives.
That's fair.
Purchasing dwarven-made stuff is actually quite reasonable.
A fair share of the weapons and armor produced by the Antlers Guild is magical as well. We are working with runes and enhancements as much as we are to steel itself. So it would not be beyond the pale to believe that a group of you, even so well armed on the surface, so well prepared already, would be looking for something better.
So
And not to mention, we do have an entire castle that we need garrisoned.
if anything, here's my idea. Me and Roisin will be on the floor since we are, well, clearly the more visibly armed individuals. And the rest of you, maybe check out them records or something. I don't know.
I'd like to go look at the marks.
Resme can look at the marks. That work fine. We can perhaps be expressing our interest in purchasing up-and-coming goods. Looking through the Anvil's Guild, simply watch them being made, but what contacts would we normally put through to see if we're interested in purchasing things? We wouldn't approach the masters individually, I'd imagine.
I can set you up with something.
Perfect.
I can organize that if you wish.
Spectacular.
Unfortunately, as I said, you came pretty late in the Forge Day, and there's not a whole lot of day left before the city really goes to sleep, as it would be. I can't imagine there's a whole lot of investigation to be done then, unfortunately.
Well, if there's anything illicit to be happening, perhaps it'll happen overnight.
You're welcome to watch over the guild. I put my faith in you, and at that point, if you wish to remain within the guild hall overnight, you're more than welcome.
That's not a bad idea.
Given
I
that we've just
can,
gotten up, perhaps it'll
stick
work.
around and keep watch.
Fair enough. Let's head back over now, then. I'll get you inside. Let some of the masters and the night guards know that you're allowed within, and, well, maybe their stakeout comes to something. Just be told. Half of me hopes it does, so we can put this all behind us. But half of me hopes it doesn't, because I can't imagine something like this is happening under my own nose. Anyway, I appreciate you looking into this.
Of course.
And she heads back out of the office, and in short order would lead the group of you back to the Antlers Guild. And before very long, with the Forge Day in fact ending, at the toll of the Great Clock Tower, audible pretty much all throughout Kovlar, the Forge Night would begin as the guards begin their rounds to snuff the various lamps and braziers hanging all throughout the city. And the light level everywhere pretty much but here drops pretty significantly. Enough of the forges still have burning coals within them that aren't snuffed entirely. The forges are so truly massive in a lot of places within the Anvilers Guild that they still actually smolder and burn through the night. Almost a system of automated bellows, keeping them going, as it's easier than attempting to relight something so gargantuan each and every morning. They do, however, shut off most of the magma-powered furnaces, as a couple of massive levers and machines in the back area move incredibly heavy sluice gates in the way, redirecting and eventually shutting off the magma channel that runs through the center of the Anvilers Guild itself. So half the forges go dark, half of them still almost burning as bright as during the day, leaving you in what's probably the brightest place outside the Traveler's Quarter, anywhere you'll find in Kovlar.
I have concerns. If you shut off the flow of magma, the magma cools down and solidifies.
They shut off the flow of magma that comes into the Anvilers Guild.
Doesn't mean they're shutting it off, period.
Yeah.
It can still circulate in
Yeah, it's
somewhere
not like
else.
magma is flowing down a tube and they just
No, they
stop it and
divert
just
some of it. No, they're diverting some of it, but then the stuff that's diverted and sitting in there would cool.
That drains.
Yeah, it
because,
drains.
Well, it doesn't just like sit there the
It-
entire day.
Yeah,
it's
but
flowing
not
through
all
and
of it's
out.
going to drain. You have to clean that out often.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
but fairly regularly have to clean
That'd
like
be
magma scrap off
extremely
the bottom of
annoying.
the
That's
channel
what
like that
scuts
is.
are for, man.
That's
Definitely
probably
a thing they have to do, yeah.
That's probably the first thing they do in the morning.
Yeah, that's morning cleanup.
Welcome.
The Anvilers version of the grease trap.
Welcome, new novice, to the Anvilers Guild. Here's your hoe.
Here's the hoe, here's the pickaxe, clean the magma channel.
Scut work.
We gotta get this fired up before the day gets going. So over the
You
night,
have an hour, or we open the gates with you still down.
over the night, what are your plans?
So
Really?
Seeking.
I hate you. I'm gonna try to find weapons by the masters to match the marks so that I can compare the weapons.
Okay. And looking through, you could definitely find enough stuff that is stored within the area, even whether it's overnight or like multi-day projects that are in here. That you'd be able to find the stations of the various masters. It seems the actual masters of the Anvilers Guild each have their own forge. So there is sort of a fixed number of actual master smiths the Anvilers Guild has at any one time, limited by the amount of space they have. It's pretty hefty. It's like 24. But while those stations are filled, apprentices can rise and can pass the various exams to join the guild and be able to manufacture them properly, but they can't become actual masters. They will still have a master until eventually the torch is passed somewhere. Looking through the marks, it's no real trouble to find ones that match the marks that are on the weapons that you were shown earlier. Obviously, you have no face or anything to put to the symbols. That'd be easily enough done in the morning. They seem, I don't know what exactly you're looking for. Like, what are you
So
after?
I am looking to see if somebody could have, in the final process of making another weapon, made a copy of the master's mark using a mold and then marked another weapon with the master's mark and exchanged it.
Basically, a
I mean-
cocky apprentice is like, my work's as good as his work.
By necessity, the marks themselves are, of course, like solid steel, anodized and hardened to last through putting their bite in dozens, if not hundreds, of weapons. So, like, yeah, it would not be difficult to physically make a copy of one. They are deeply scored, or deeply ridged. They're incredibly, it would be the easiest thing in the actual world to copy.
Mm-hmm.
But also, since these are slammed into red-hot weapons, when they're functioned, there would be no way to find any evidence of that, so it would be just cleared the next time it was used. I mean, yeah, it's definitely totally possible you could copy one of these.
In that case, we see that they have the mark, what are they called? They just called marks?
Ingots.
Maker's marks.
Maker's marks?
Stamps.
Yeah, it's basically a
seals.
small little metal rod that just has an insignia at one end that they just pound into the haft of the hammer as one of the ending steps of their creation. Probably just the last thing it's done before it's cooled entirely. And then they shear, and the marks are clearly much deeper than the actual impression left on the weapon because they have to do it when it's still hot, and then they shear and grind around that to finish it off.
Let's look around and just, without bias, just see if we find anything that just doesn't seem right. Anything that somebody's trying to hide.
Yeah, there
anything
could
that
be
somebody doesn't
fakes
want
right there
found.
right now.
There could be fakes.
So you want to spend your evening watching for anyone doing anything sneaky. You want to spend your evening looking for fakes that might already be here. What are you doing?
Roisin is just so out of her element here. She's desperately trying to think of something
In
productive.
a
that she
giant
can do.
forge, you're like,
Yeah.
I don't want to touch anything.
what do I do?
Um,
Mom?
I mean, you could just come with me while I inspect the place, being, you know, a weapon forger myself.
So you also want to inspect it, you want to do that same kind of thing, look through, make
Kinda.
sure there's nothing obvious. Okay.
I mean, she has her own version.
Yeah, I mean, you both can be inspecting different stuff for sure.
okay. And
You could definitely aid somebody if you want to.
yeah, I'll try and aid if it's something that doesn't require a lot of crafting expertise. You can help.
This is Kovlar, my friend.
You've come to the wrong town.
Crafting is the
well.
new will save.
No.
Pretty much.
What about you, Reyes?
Raz is completely out of his element, so he's gonna look for weapons that look like the weapons that he just inspected. He
You'll
can
find plenty of those.
Yep. So that's what he finds.
You mean more of the defects?
The more of the defects.
I will probably be spending the entire time sitting on the roof just watching the entire courtyard.
Actually,
Yeah.
Raz is gonna stay inside, away, like in other areas of the forge that aren't frequented by them, and just keep lookout
Okay.
on the
So
inside.
you're going to be kind of scouting too.
Yeah.
Okay, so our two scouts, Sheik and Rez, you can make me either stealth or perception checks. Obviously, but
You've made. Derp's like trying to push the two buttons right now. He's like, oh god, I can only pick one.
They're both good, I mean, but one's clearly better.
Perception.
No.
For me.
Sneaky Lizard is very sneaky. Lucky Rat is very lucky.
Yeah, so that's 35 for me.
36 for me.
So as you kind of keep yourself concealed on the roof and you look out, both of you actually would largely see the same thing. While you are alone in the Anvilers Guild during the evening, all means of ingress at this point have been locked up. The front gate is actually like chained around as it is more bars than it is a solid door. They look like they're not aiming to enclose the forging area any more than they have to so that the heat and smoke can escape. The paired guard patrols that go around do occasionally, throughout the night, maybe 4 or 5 times, go around the Anvilers Guild itself and actually check each of the doors to make sure that they're still locked and still in place. Going so far as actually giving a bit of a rattle to the front iron gate, which would be that would be obvious to everybody, ensuring that everything is still locked up as it should be. They wouldn't notice you, and the rest of you, as you're looking through the area, then the Guild of Arms having been informed that you'd be staying overnight, they might give you a brief wave or a nod before they continue back around the patrols. Otherwise, neither of you see anything out of the ordinary happening in the Anvilers Guild overnight.
Good.
Now, two of you who are looking at the merchandise, we'll have Rasheen roll first because you are assisting. Give me a crafting check.
You are not assisting. Stay the heck away from me.
She can help me.
I'm following.
I could help you. The other possibility is that I do not help you. Just saying.
I believe.
It'll be fine.
Stay away
Faith was
from me.
misplaced.
No, it's fine. You have a hero point. This is a perfect use
Don't
for it.
even use it. Don't even.
I could just like chew it up in my mouth
Yeah.
instead. It'd be the
That's what-
same
that's what he
thing.
did
This is a
earlier.
perfect use
Just for
it.
the record, why do I see this for Marshall just going up to her like she's trying to put like the knife
Just
in her mouth?
gnawing on a
And I'm
blade.
Like, stop.
That's how she tests
Right,
their
so the
killing
best
ability.
way to test the quality of this weapon. The anvil, excellent. This one seems fine. Give me the other one.
I can't believe you're taking a page out of my book and I'm pulling it. Is this what it's like living with me?
Marshall, you are going to have a -1 to your crafting check as Rasheen is kind of just a nuisance. He definitely is not helping.
Well, it's a good thing I rolled fairly decent on that one. So it's a
okay.
-1, right?
-1, yep.
27. That's not terrible, but
27, and what do you, and resume you as well with your crafting check?
Yeah. And, use my crafter's eyepiece too.
You're giving these two a wide berth.
Yeah. Once I heard Roshin was helping him, I'm like, going to the opposite side of the
Ew.
forge.
you
Well,
see
it's a
Marshall
big
yelling
forge,
at her.
fortunately.
It's like, well, fine. You pick that up and swing it to me, and I'll try to block it. And then we'll listen to the sound it makes.
As much fun as that sounds, the answer is still no.
You're picking out a
It's a
watermelon?
30.
So both of you, as you're going through the area, as the Forge Master Thunderflare had said, they have some simple things around just for day-to-day sales. But there's not a ton. There are some in progress works that are resting either in beds of coal or just carefully swathed in cloth, awaiting some like finishing, polishing, and sharpening touches, perhaps. Some early enough on that they sort of just look like giant hunks of iron still, with a vague shape to them. Particularly some larger weapons like great swords that are definitely multiple day projects just to get the raw shape of the actual blade itself out. But nothing looks off. Nothing seems wrong. Everything here seems to be to code.
Okay.
Much of these are so early on they haven't even had their maker's marks applied to them yet. As it's kind of just like reheat and do at the end. But nothing seems out of the ordinary.
Once I'm finished with that, at that point, I'm gonna do another pass through looking for something that somebody might be trying to hide in a place that's kind of sketchy.
Well, that looking through the entirety of the Antlers Guild, that was your overnight.
Oh,
so,
okay.
12 hours later, as the clock bongs once more to bring Kovlar back to life.
This is why you use them on nonsense, by the way.
Can
You
I
keep
try-
getting more?
One more thing.
Sure.
These unfinished, unmarked weapons that are
There
still
would
here.
know to be a lot of those around, because the journeymen and the apprentices frequently do still work within the Antlers Guild, so there's a lot more in progress, and like there definitely are some crap weapons, but they're clearly apprentice work and obviously aren't going to be given to the final sale pile.
Roshin's just going to go up to them and touch
Genius.
each one and just go, March. And a little flare of a briar-encrusted rose will appear before fading to invisibility. And she's just going to repeat that for every single weapon that she has in the entire place.
I just thought of that. You're a genius.
That is
Sigil.
sigil. It is a mark which is going to default to invisible because I want it to be. I can make it show visible if I want. It lasts an entire year. And I can basically trace all of these weapons now in case any of them wind up not being up to snuff.
Okay.
It's a thing.
Fair enough. Yeah, that is in fact
So
the thing.
we just wait a few days and see what happens.
So you have invisible marks on
Every single
in
one
progress weapon within the Antlers Guild.
Correct.
Biggest brainess you got right there. And murder lizards need hero points. Shayazo, putting Kashyyyk back on the board here.
I'll immediately use it, don't worry.
He will.
So after the night, as the city starts to come back to life for another day, much of your day at this point having passed, you maybe got another hour or two in you before it started to get a little tired. You had like 2 hours before, 2 hours after. This day was pretty much centered on the Forge Night. The Antlers Guild would be reopened by Forge Master Thunderflare herself as she came in, greeting the group of you with a couple of the masters behind her, as in fact a couple of scrubs would come in, be handed hose and picks, and start de-rusting the channel for the morning before everything was reopened. Some ladders are brought out to let them down into the surprisingly deep magma channel that actually goes probably about 3 or so feet down, which is stepladder territory for a dwarf. Safety.
Finish in an hour or...
Technically, you have an hour and 10 minutes. It takes a little bit for the chamber to fill up.
The access to the sluices that run the magma channel seem to have like multiple levels of locks and security on them, that even the Forge Master herself needs a key to open and close them. Beyond that, you would have to know what you are doing as well. There's several mechanical steps to get it open, so no one's going to trip into the lever, hit it, and kill Jimmy the unfortunate apprentice.
The reason for all the security is because it's happened once.
Could be such a
The
great...
reason for all the security is they have a freaking lava river in the middle of their forge. So.
That's cost.
I was
mean-
hoping to have a great James Bond fight in this room where you could kick mooks into the
The lava just.
lava.
I believe Buford has already kicked him into a pool of lava.
Yeah,
You're
but he's
correct.
into fire, so it
Nothing.
can work out. Yeah.
There's also like fake zombie gold.
Yeah,
less
that's
than
true.
lava.
That's true.
Anyway, as she reopens everything back up and starts getting things together. Well, anything?
Nothing suspicious that we found overnight, but we did take some precautions to be able to trace what might have happened here. Before any of these weapons go out to be finished, if you could let me know and run it by us so we can make sure that nothing has changed in the structure before it goes out the door.
All right. I'm certainly curious as to what it is you're doing here, but I'll humor it for sure. Got to say, I'm relieved, but not terribly surprised that nothing's really come up in the guild itself overnight. As I said, I'd be, well, at least a little bit disappointed if there was something wrong with the guild. And I'd certainly have some words with Commander Bronzebeard.
All right, it's time to go shopping, I guess.
You'll be pleased to know his guards were very thorough.
Well, I appreciate the grippiness staying through the whole forge night to watch out the place. But, I guess I don't have any fantastic direction for you. This isn't really my forte here, right? Take this hammer, and I hit steel until it's bent to my will and making something real worth presentable and selling. I'm not a detective.
Not a problem. And besides, with us as buyers out on the market, looking to outfit, well, a small contingent of castle guards, at the very least, with perhaps some of these equipment might be finished soon, and we'd be able to actually inspect them in the long run.
I'd
As
be
buyers, as proper
more
buyers.
than happy to work a deal with you, to be certain, especially if you can get to the bottom of this. Well, we're gonna get everything up and ready for the day, and truth be told, I'm not shooing you out or anything, but it is a wee bit unsafe starting up all the forges, and
We'll
I
leave.
do need to ask you to leave for the morning.
Of course, of course.
If you have any other questions or ideas or anything else you need from me, please come by. Anything after the first hour of the forge day, you're more than welcome in the guild anytime. And
Sounds like we'll be back in a couple of days.
Rasheen, a hero point from Shazper for your mark the weapons idea here.
See,
Thank
now
you,
you're in
thank
a
you.
dilemma because
Big
if you get
points for
one
big
more, you can't
brains.
get any more.
You're
You
an
You
gotta
gotta
idiot.
use them. Don't be Bryn.
Yeah,
Don't be Bryn.
You just got
Don't sit on your dragon's hoard of this many hero points.
every
never
chance you
using
get,
any
just
of them.
re-roll.
This was Bryn's hero
Roll in that
point
20,
pile
re-roll it. I mean,
most of the time.
you could get another 20.
I could get another 20.
You
and
could,
that would at least be a story to talk about.
you could crit
Extinction curse.
confirm.
Listen, we re-rolled 20s.
I was gonna say Extinction Curse. We absolutely had a 20 get rerolled because we really wanted to fail, and he rolled a natural 20. So he hero pointed it to not be a natural 20, not because it was beneficial, but because it was hilarious. So,
What a meme.
what an absolute meme Lord Selwyn was. So as you head out of the Anvilers Guild here, the Forge Day is coming together, but your day is coming to an end. Is there anything else you want to investigate before you tuck it in for the evening?
Chartering a boat for later on in the Forge Day.
Certainly something you could do. A quick stop by the Guild of Arms. Wouldn't even need you to speak with Commander Bronzebeard, as he's already gotten everything in order for you. He already poses to you. He was already expecting you to come help at some point. And he has a sergeant with a decent amount of paperwork and some writs signed and sealed and stamped for you to take down to the docks in the Lakeside District to rent out a boat. It's a simple vessel. You will need to row it. There is neither a sail nor a wind to blow it because we are in a cave.
You made it right.
And we know it.
They don't have motorboats.
We don't have motorboats, no.
Oh, we have Marshall.
We don't grow it.
Exactly.
Marshall
We could just let you grow
could just
large.
use his strength. All of you get in the boat. He gets in the boat, and then he just picks up the entire boat and with him in it, and just carries you where you want to go
he
across
just
the
gets
lake.
large and pushes it while he walks on the bottom.
Roshin casts Airwalk. Marshall just grabs his boots and picks himself up. Strength.
Actually, the funny thing, Roshin with Airwalk could just like wear like an ox harness and just pull the boat if we had to.
You could
It'd be more comfortable than the corset.
harness the raw power of Roshin's quads to just pull a boat across the lake, I guess.
I mean, once you get the boat going, it just goes. It's actually like pulling a boat isn't too bad,
Yeah,
honestly.
imagine the resistance isn't super terrible, really.
It's not really. No, it's
I mean, I
not.
could always pick up the boat and throw it while I'm Mega Marshal. That would
All
be
right.
amusing.
You just wade through the lake and push the boat as Mega Marshall.
No, I mean, like, legitimately, just.
But how are you going to get in the boat?
He
that-
jumps in after he
That's a
throws it.
problem for future Marshall. I'd hate to be that guy.
No, you pick up the boat while you're standing in it, and you'll just float away. Because you see, you're picking it up. But because it's under you, it's going to bring you with it.
So much of your remaining day is spent ensuring that you have everything in order to take these really surprisingly high amount of paperwork down to the lakeside docks to ensure that you will, in fact, have a vessel. It doesn't seem like Commander Bronzebeard was playing this up at all. It is incredibly strictly regulated. And the paper that you have, the writs that actually allow you to take a boat out into the lake and to rent a boat, are stamped with the official seal of the Guild of Arms and Commander Bronzebeard himself, as a regent personally allowing this expedition out into the waters. It is a very tightly controlled situation and ecosystem.
Gracious, this is ridiculous. Can you imagine having this beautiful lake right off the side of your entire city and you can't go out onto it without getting actual approval from the official government of the entire
Well,
place?
Then everybody would be out in the lake and it wouldn't be so picturesque. You have a lot of little boats on it.
I like the idea of little boats on the lake. It looked very nice.
I like it looking like it's untouched. As if it's waiting to be explored by anyone who gets in a boat.
Except you can't get in a boat and explore it because you
Well,
need government approval.
We got government approval.
That's all well and good for us.
But we get to explore it.
You know, if
that
there are
means
more-
we are special.
I'm just saying, if there were more people out there, the sea monster probably would have been found by now. Just saying.
Careful, Roshin. You're looking awful bourgeoisie.
Every syllable of that.
Advocating the sharing of public resources is bourgeoisie.
Wow.
You keep saying this word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Just having fun.
This city needs libertarians. We have far too many regulations. The sea. Well, I mean, look at it this way too. If two people were out in the lake, then the sea monster wouldn't be hungry for you guys to go find it.
That's a good point.
We just find a big fat sea monster on a beach somewhere.
It'd just be like bratwurst, just chilling.
Oh, it's adventurous. Hey guys.
We have a Nessie situation.
So many dwarves.
We have
With
a-
that, largely, this day's investigations behind you. You've got time for a quick meal and perhaps some drinks before, the needs of human exhaustion call you to another evening of rest. The evening being a morning, really.
Would I be able to do that sleep retraining thing?
I was about to... Mr. Marshall. It just occurred to me in all my infinite smarts that, you asked me a question the other day I was half asleep about a spell that helps you unlock hidden potential or something of that mumbo jumbo, right?
Aye.
Do you have the brain for that?
I mean, I would like to think I could if I could swing an axe.
Can you close your eyes now and imagine exactly what you want?
Well, I sit down, and I close my eyes and I try to focus.
Hardy starts falling asleep.
Because I do in fact know a spell. I learned it from a guy who knew another guy who knew the spell. It was a very complex thing. But what it does is while you are sleeping, it conjures forth kind of a mental image that helps you learn through yourself. It's a very complex thing, and if you don't understand how it's working, or if you can't even imagine how it's going to work, it probably won't work.
He said complex like at least 3 different times in that sentence.
Well, that's
Must be
fair.
very-
However, even a simpleton like myself can understand the thought of mental training to improve his prowess on the battlefield.
Okay, but do you know what you want?
I do, very
Yeah.
much so.
As long as you can picture what you want, it should work.
Oh, I'll tell you what I want. What I really, really want.
Stop.
I want you to stop with that. Well,
I'm sorry.
Rocks fall the entire city of Kovlar.
Yeah, it solves our problem.
Off we go, lads. Another job well done.
he pulls out a blank piece of paper and hands you. He has a quill in his hand. He puts it back, pulls out a stick of charcoal.
A stick. Okay.
Ouch.
Looks at it. This will probably break in your grasp. Puts it back, pulls out a colored piece of wax. Write what you want in simple terms on this, and then sign your name. That way I can kind of help you visualize it when I cast the magic.
Oh, sounds easy enough.
Over here with
What do you-
crayons and paper.
Literal giant crayon.
Like he's on the floor, like kicking his little feet back like a 5-year-old.
Even a picture. If you can't do it in words, a picture will work. A picture will work
So what
fine.
are you creating here, Marshall? What is it we're drawing?
He
has an
super
even
realistic
bigger
stick figure of myself going like where he looks like It's like Big Marshall, back to Little Marshall. It's like a little diagram. Goes back to Little Marshall. Looks like he's tired, but then gets big again and gets angry. He's going to take up second wind.
So you hand this strange doodle of yours. I imagine, honestly, of all the ideas that you're trying to push through a crayon drawing on a piece of paper, Big Marshall to tired Tiny Marshall to Big Marshall again is actually probably, that one's very easily transmissible, I think. I think you can get that one across in, like, Pictionary.
Raz looks at it. Artistic. Simply sublime.
I mean, it makes sense.
He just puts his thumb on your forehead and then puts his other hand underneath your chin.
Okay.
All right. You're going to lay down.
Okay.
So you got to go to sleep. You got to go to sleep.
Oh, that's easy.
You're now supporting the full weight of his head.
It's fine. Cethalia Kialo, as I cast Dreaming Potential.
You see the actual...
And I literally just hold him there for 10 minutes as he's casting it. Just
As that's going on, you actually see like the markings on his head, like the red markings start to like vibrate and glow a little bit. And like he kind of like winces as he sees the mental image of himself like retraining in his mind as the spell goes on.
I should have told him I won't get all of it done. That'll help lay down base work. He actually has to do real world work. Oh, I'll tell him when he wakes up. It's fine.
So, before we go any further here, Penguin, Witch Doctor, Rasheen for when they discover the sea monster.
And I get eaten.
And then there was three.
have signed up to be eaten.
Get eaten yet again. Thank you,
Join me
Penguin
in
Witch
the
Doctor.
3 stack, my friend. I too, for when you find the sea monster, am very well prepared.
See,
On
this is what I
behalf of
warned
the
you
sea
about.
monster.
Now anybody who goes to give you one, we have to go through the lengthy process of refunding.
They're like,
them.
oh, I can't give Rasheen the hero points. But as you sleep tonight, Marshall, you will make some progress on this. That's what I believe lets him treat this as a day of training, basically.
Yep, as long as it doesn't require any instructor or specialized.
I don't think he's
That he
gonna
can't
need to
access
find
within the
like
game.
his barbarian sensei to learn
Sitting
how
on a
to
mountaintop.
He's got to do his
rage
class
more harder.
In all
preparation.
fairness, I think in a way he technically taught himself.
Yeah, it's all
Probably
internalized.
does not have a teacher. That's accurate. But typically to retrain a feat, it is going to take you a week. So while you're going to start to grasp some of this, it's going to be some time before you have fully acquired the potential of the second wind here, before you really get learn to harness this rage, which will definitely be easier if you can actually use some rage in the intervening time, as it's
I could always find a reason.
dreaming potential is one thing. Field work, practical application is another. But the process has begun. I have it on my calendar now. And what will be the next day for you?
Not done yet. Sorry.
There's more things. What a busy night. What's up?
I am going to brew some Blood Eye coffee for the next day.
Oh, you're gonna make that like as part of your things you make in the morning?
Yeah.
Because I know you.
I don't usually make that, but I do have it.
It's
And
not hard to find.
it's not hard to find. Because if we do end up not going through a night or wanting to go more today because we end up going out there and we end up getting stuck out there and we need to stay awake, I would like us to have a way to stay awake that does not interfere with what we are doing.
So I open this. The tags I see are drug-ingested poison.
You are
Yeah.
correct.
That's
Well, it's coffee.
That's
yeah. I mean that is accurate. I'm just
except this is a turbo Starbucks.
just confirming. It is actually pretty much turbo Starbucks.
If you pass the fortitude save, are you still fatigued, ironically?
You are still you're not fatigued, but you don't progress past stage 1.
That's funny.
So you can intentionally fail the fortitude save to take this to get the stage 1, but you want to make the fortitude stage for ensuing phases.
Oh,
so you
okay.
don't
I
get
see what you mean. So you
stupefied
don't
and
get
whatnot.
stupefied.
Yeah, so it doesn't go to stupefied and then to where you can't actually recover from fatigue. And I guess the difficulty here is when you take this base, you're gonna have the benefit for 10 minutes before you start needing to make saves, and you can either intentionally fail and you become stupefied, or you succeed and then you're no longer affecting the benefits. Basically, at this point, you guys are strong enough and have been through enough that the coffee it's useful, but it is only so powerful.
Right. The purpose is if we do get fatigued out there and we do get into a fight,
I'm
at
taking
least
for 10-minute go shot.
go shot.
Fair enough.
That's what it is. It's a go shot.
I mean, technically, I would probably
A
take that.
10-minute energy.
10-minute energy.
Hey,
For the
looks
makers
like-
of 5-hour energy, 10-minute energy.
Looks
It's
like you're-
dramatically worse, but it's also a lot cheaper.
Looks like your coffee just ran out. Here, have some pesh.
Okay, Valia left.
Shushik will make addicts of us all.
So, as you awake the next morning with your morning, it's really just, it's actually not even halfway through the Forge Day. We'll be about the midpoint of the Forge Day. It works that we're kind of like 2 and 3 offset because the Forge Day is 50% longer. It kind of lines up relatively decently. You're going to be finishing your morning preparations, your alchemical concoctions that you're making for the day, what does an oracle do in the morning?
Well, I mainly keep my armor from rusting, but
You wake up
Also-
and Milani just elbow drops you with some divine magic.
that's it right there.
It's not
No.
like you asked for this. It's like, it's not prayers to Milani. You're just like,
Here we go again.
Roshin
it
just
over?
sits there and sharpens her sword and goes, "Today, you and I will
"Ah,
get vengeance."
dang it, I woke up again.
Yeah.
Like,
This is my
Molly, are we
existence.
there yet?
I am a poor wayfaring stranger.
probably mostly weapons and armor maintenance for most of the party.
Breakfast.
I just licked.
Most
Well, yeah,
important meal of the day.
breakfast, and you've got your attached bathing chambers, so cleaning and whatnot
What is
is,
bathing?
of course, included, unless you're Marshall.
What you did when
that
we
we
went to
got
go
here.
meet the Dwarven Council.
Oh, I thought I only had to do that once a month.
No, we're changing it now, once a day.
You would be prepared about halfway through the Forge Day. And you've got your boat permits in order.
Off to the boat.
So
Boats.
is it boat o'clock?
I'm
now?
on a boat.
I've been on the wrong scene the
Oh.
entire time.
You know who we're taking?
Hmm.
Roshin and Severin.
Cool. Sorry, she's been listening to that song, so she's making references to it.
I'm on a boat.
So if we're heading down to the lakeside, the group of you all come out of the Gold Sky in here. And probably the easiest way is to follow. You can really go right at any occasion. But it's easier to just walk back up into the Commerce District up here where the House of Odes and where the Regent's Hall and everything is. And follow this major road that heads down to the lakeside itself.
If possible, could we take a different route to see different parts of the city?
Absolutely could take a different route. That is the easiest. But where do you want to go, my good friend?
I mean,
long
just take
way.
a route right away
You
and then
do a
follow the
loop de
coast.
loop and
I would just
pull.
follow this smaller road here.
Yeah, sure.
All right, yeah, absolutely, you can do that. I mean, no, that road is
Immediately get mugged.
the road is absolutely banned.
I feel bad for those
Actually,
mothers.
love the
the
heroes
heroes
of
of
one-way-
Breachill, huh?
Frickin' imagine mugging this party. The dude just pops out of an alley with a knife. Give me your purse.
Your stance is wrong.
It's like, you can't be serious.
I would just
It's actually happening right now.
I would just probably pick
already
him up and eat
behind
him.
Dude, Severin would peck him to death.
That's true. Severin could probably
That would
take
actually,
him.
you probably would lose a fight to Severin. So you continue down this small road past a bunch of small alehouses, coffee shops, smaller inns and taverns, and simple general stores. There's a traveler's quarter here. Still a lot of things that are selling a lot of surface goods. But here, back further away from the main trade routes on the eastern side of the city, it's a little bit more dwarven schedule. These run on Forge days. They don't have anything here that opens on a regular surface that follows the surface calendar, and a lot more traditional grocers and supply stores for dwarven goods. Before this turns into a bit of a wider road past here and a bit of some dead space, just to walk along the very edge of the cavern. Actually, this would take you to, which really I feel like is hard to conceptualize as a person. That you have this big city. Kovlar's not Kintargo, but it's not a ton smaller. It's a pretty decently sized settlement that you walk to the edge of, and there's just a cave wall.
Believe it or not, that's pretty much Jerusalem. Jerusalem is essentially this huge city that is literally surrounded
It's
by
true, yeah, it's got
mountains.
massive cliff walls.
Just like it's just a cliff wall. Like,
It's also like 40% of Utah.
like you
From
get to
having
the
lived
edge of
there.
it, and you have to look up.
It's them, but then the cave wall just goes up above, and unless you're Marshall, literally just out of sight up into the darkness.
What was the name of the ancient Indian tribes that built into like cliff walls. Pueblos.
Yeah, there's still a lot of. I believe there's a lot of that kind of architecture still out in New Mexico. Yeah,
It's
that
beautiful.
They
Be like
build
that. Just
almost
suddenly there's a wall.
everything in, especially in Santa Fe, because we were out there because a lot of Brent's family's out there. But it's still all that same architecture. So but still being in a cavern.
Yeah,
Then again, the
cavern
only
part.
light is the town itself, and so even here at the edge against the wall, it's dim, even during the day, just because there's no light of forges or hurts. There's some little road lamps, but this is somewhat of an ill-used road, so it's odd. You have all of this life in this city. I mean, not to Marshall, he grew up. He's a dwarf, and he grew up in Dwarfland, but like to the rest of you and to us as like actual players, it's going to be something that's incredibly different from what you'd normally experience.
I'm feeling. It feels different now. I mean, knowing what this is all about. I mean, this is actually the first time we've actually even known, like, why the heck we're even here doing this.
Well, to be fair, it's the first time anyone of the Triad has actually bothered to actually explain themselves to anyone. Not that really would have made too much of a difference terribly. Slavery being what it is and all.
It's not slavery.
It is slavery. They're
No.
not sacrificing them all, I guarantee you that.
Seems to be exactly what they're doing.
I don't
Well,
believe it
either way, they're-
necessarily, but either way,
They're going down.
it has to stop. Either way.
It does, but what are we replacing it with?
Freedom.
Freedom from what? A dragon coming out to terrorize all of us and end the world as we know it? That doesn't seem very free.
Ah, it's simple. We take out the Triad, we take out the dragon, problem solved.
I don't think it's going to be that simple. I think that if it were that simple, somebody would have just gone, "Hey, let's just go kill the dragon." You know, no, of course, let's just kill the world-ending, dragon that's been prophesized for thousands of years.
Raspberry, let me put something to you. Now, granted, I know I'm not very old for the dwarf, but I can definitely tell you I have plenty of experience. And through all my journeys, I can tell you one thing. I've seen some crazy things on my mercenary work and in the military when I was younger. And as far as adventures with you lot, I've seen some impossible things happen. And with the right attitude and information and the guts, I think we can take them down
I
together.
don't.
I agree.
See?
Are you with me on this?
I don't really want to fight a dragon.
See?
They eat small
It's
things,
not
and I'm
even
very,
that I-
very small.
It's not even
Dragons
that.
eat large things.
It's not even that I don't want to fight the
small
dragon.
relative to them.
It's that. What are the consequences if we lose?
Oh, we're not going to.
Well,
Well-
that's a bad line of thinking.
That depends. If we lose to the Scarlet Triad, typically the consequence would be death to anyone who fell, and likely you and I would have to go and source more manpower.
Chris,
So-
May, are you
So-
alright?
So
That is the best answer I have ever been given.
So the way I see it is,
If we lose to the dragon, we are likely all food.
if we don't fight the dragon does what it's going to do. How long do you think the Scarlet Triad could keep it satisfied before it gets, anxious?
Well, if we don't keep using the gates, then presumably indefinitely.
Resme, did you enjoy that dinner you had last night?
It was all right.
Well, the Scarlet Triad went and murdered a couple of people to make sure that the world stayed in peace long enough for you to enjoy your dinner. And what about breakfast this morning? Did you enjoy that? Was it good? And this fine dress you have here, how many people died so that there was time in the world to sew that together? What kind of world is this that we could ever enjoy again, knowing that the likes of the Triad are butchering people to keep it in place?
A real one.
One where all good things become cheapened by blood. We owe it to everyone to try to find a better way.
I think that the reality of the world is that somebody always has to die so that we can live in the world we want to live in. Would you turn your nose up at defending your homeland as a soldier? And would you say the man who died to defend that homeland had wasted his life and that you shouldn't eat well because he did?
But that man gave his life willingly. The Triad kidnapping people
Well,
and murdering them.
well, I would say this
sounds-
much. I'd at least give it a. I'd at least die trying instead of not doing anything at all.
Besides,
If those people gave their lives willingly, it'd be an entirely different story.
the way I see it, as much as I don't want to fight the dragon, if it comes down to it, if I'm there and I got to see the dragon and it's gonna try to fight me and eat me, I'm gonna fight it. The way he said his cousin, was it your cousin?
Technically, yes.
She's a coward. She took the coward's way out. She didn't try to fight. She ran, or she sacrificed other people. That's not what you do. You don't take people from other people. That's wrong.
I'm not saying it isn't wrong. I'm
So?
saying that there's no right answer. I'm saying there's no good choice. I'm saying
You don't
There
know
is-
that.
No, there is a correct answer. The one that gets you home at night. It does not matter what you have to do with people like this. The important part.
well, ask Chet.
I think we're back.
Maybe?
Have we survived? Did we do it?
Are we back?
Brick in the window.
Both of us was just missing.
Dang it! Oh man, we're having such a good conversation. Well, hey, Penguin Witch Doctor got you in your hip, right, Sheik? I was
Boy.
waiting for a moment because we had such a good.
Hey guys, what was the
Yay,
last thing
we're
you
back.
heard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back, everybody. Our internet did just kind of die. I think it died on the provider's end for a moment because our router was still connected and everything. So that's unfortunate, but we're back, so we can finish the session up proper, like. So a quick question to the class: where exactly did that die?
Yeah, we have no idea how.
We definitely
where we
noticed
were.
it died, but I don't know.
Trishik was speaking,
Okay.
so when you get to go home.
Yeah, just. Did you hear everything that I said, or was
Trishik
it?
was saying you need to make it home at the end of the day.
Yes,
That was
okay.
matter what
exactly
you
what
have to
Then
do
we
to make
didn't
it home.
really miss that much.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, we
Okay.
actually noticed it pretty immediately then, so that's good.
Look, I'm not saying that we're not gonna keep going, but what I am saying is that I'm not in this for revenge.
Who said anything about revenge?
You did, actually. Liv, you're the one who's speaking about revenge. Over Ella's body, as I recall.
But that was in the heat of the moment. I've actually given this a lot of thought, and I would never disrespect the memory of Dalrin or Rur or Ella or Esves or any of our friends for something as stupid as revenge. And I sure as heck would never put you all at risk for anything so selfish.
Well, as I said before, and not to sound like a bard who only knows one song, I'm in it for revenge. I'm gonna keep going. So
It's not about revenge though, Raz. It's
about revenge. They took something from me, and if the Warren knew, which I did send the letter, I wonder if it made it to them, they would weep tears knowing the pain that has been wrought to the entire family.
However, don't get me wrong, Raz. Me especially understands how vengeance is very important to our cause. However, in the long run, Ms. Resme, it's, again, just doing what's right, defending your homeland, defending yourselves, defending your people, whether you be elf, lizard, or dwarf, or rat. Sorry, didn't mean to exclude you. But point is, it's got to be done. And if we don't even try, it doesn't even matter.
I'm not saying we're not going to try. I'm saying that I'm here to make sure that my friends' lives meant something.
They
That
have.
They didn't just die for something as stupid as revenge or treasure or bravado or whatever other reason anyone else might be here.
They gave their lives that Breachill could be safe. That you could be safe.
But it's not enough. I don't want to sacrifice 1,000 lives to make their lives matter. I want to save 1,000 to make their lives matter. If all I'm doing here is seeking out this eventuality that's going to cause more pain than it solves, then did I really did I do them any justice? Did I do them any favors? Did they die for absolutely no reason?
Do you speak for the dead? Do you speak with the dead?
Let me
I have.
Have you spoken with your friends since they've passed?
What do they want? I wonder. Would
Have
they be
they-
satisfied with this
Have they
butcher's bill?
bemoaned how their lives were worth nothing on their deathbeds? Have they cried from the afterlife, wishing that they could have done more?
I don't know.
Then,
I know what they would have wanted in life,
well, they're not alive. They're dead.
Well,
but that doesn't mean their wishes mean any less. You don't think you still have a chance of getting your daughter back?
Oh, there's a chance that I am going to get her back. A very big chance, and I'm banking on 100%.
Right, and would you put your vengeance above getting her back alive?
I'm getting her back alive.
Exactly. And therefore, your mission is to preserve life, not to get vengeance. It's just that if you have to, you'll kill people who get in your way. That's not revenge. That's getting her back alive no matter the cost. It's not the same thing.
if I may, you especially I already know, and you may somewhat know, but have you heard of the old dwarven saying called passing on the axe? It means when a proud dwarven warrior falls, he passes his axe on to the next generation to complete that unfulfilled duty. That is what your dead companions are basically saying. They believed in something, they're fighting for something, and they're passing their axe on to you. They're passing it on to us, all of us. We have a duty to fulfill, and we need to get it done.
Rur was a follower of Sarenrae, and Dalaran was the most pragmatic man you've ever met in your entire life.
I probably would have had a beer with them, but point is...
If you put the equation before them, I can almost guarantee you they could care less about some sort of check mark at the end of the day or getting the job done. We did it to save Breach Hill. We're out here to save lives. So I think before, even as we're going through this, we have to keep asking ourselves the question. We have the responsibility to keep asking ourselves the question at every stage, at every step, are we doing it, and are we doing it for the right reasons?
You're saying Rur was a Saranite.
He was.
Saranite would never be alright with kidnapping and murder to keep the sun rising again.
Saranites would also not be okay with dooming the world to burn because of some personal sense of revenge.
But what they wouldn't be doing is they wouldn't be fine with the sort of things. They wouldn't let the dawn flower rise in the sky because of the blood of innocence.
There is also no dragon that we are aware of. There is something, but it was not.
I've seen the damn dragon.
But
I'm
it
telling
was
you,
not-
there was a dragon in the hallway. There was a dragon in the gate.
But we have not seen it.
I'm
Whatever
going
force it
to
might
hurt
be,
all of you.
it is not there now. We're not hurting anyone by simply doing what we have to do to
And-
get
Triad
here.
have not had a chance to examine the gate
And
the
they
way
will
that we
not.
have, and they will not while we have the keys. But perhaps, with the addition of experts like the Archmage, perhaps we can examine it and find another solution.
I'm pretty sure that I'm smarter than the Archmage, but, you know, he's got a beard, so maybe he's got something going for him. Either way,
Wow.
Peak resume is only 19 years old energy. I'm smart, better than your Archmage.
How do we know you didn't swap some of the workman's weapons?
Well,
Better than this.
Resume, you do get a hero point from Blade Tiger here.
Aw, thank
Resume
you.
is giving me emotions right now, he says.
either way, I wanted you all to know that I'm doing this and we're going forward and we're doing it together because that's what we came here to do. But I didn't want you to mistake for a minute that if I thought the choice was between sacrificing lives and letting the world burn, that I wouldn't be willing.
That's why we just stop it all together.
And if we can, we will, even if we have to give our lives for it. Not that I want to do that. I want us all to come out of this in one piece so that we can tell the story to our children and our grandchildren and grow old together, adventuring and doing stupid old people stuff like smelling bad.
Marshall already do that.
I was about to say.
But
The party!
A question though, on that note, do you think that'll ever wear off?
don't believe it will.
Yes, Milan?
Oh, Milani, please make me smell better.
Lilac
The
and
most
daisy.
the most conceited prayer I've ever heard of in my life.
30 to 40 years.
You know, I have we have a new thing for your armor that might make you smell better. It also does some other lovely things as well. It'll make you look sharper.
It's a rune stone.
Yeah, it's
I
great.
know what rune stones do.
I know we're gonna put it in your armor. It's gonna make it awesome.
I'm not using up a rune stone spot on my armor to smell better.
Should we get the boat now?
But you smell
It's a
really
good
bad.
idea.
Yeah, let's get the boat.
We've been standing on the dock this entire
You
time.
guys have, I imagine, been standing kind of distracted over here, like in this
Yeah.
kind of sequestered corner, away from the hustle and bustle of Kovlar's day to day, and now just literally at the edge of a cavern. The docks and the lakeside district in sight, but you having halted for a moment to figure out where it is you're going and why, really.
It appears that now that the conversation, more a discussion of morals, is broken down, it would be a good idea to continue walking.
Hey, we got the mission to do.
I just want you to know that this isn't like one of your. Well, it's not something that I think you're gonna regret. I think it's something very different. And I still want you with me, but I want you to know what you're getting yourself into. And if you want to turn back, I'll understand.
Resume, my fear was always that this would be something that you would regret. I've been down this path before.
If I have to give my life for this, it won't be out of vengeance. It'll be out of sacrifice, and it will be for the right reasons. But I don't want it to be.
It's simple. There are no sacrifices on this end, then. We just power through it.
It's-
like I do with taters.
It's curious to see a blood oath just sort of get turned around like that. Not a very Galton thing to do, I have to say.
But it's a very human, elven thing to do.
Perhaps. It's not necessarily a bad thing, I suppose.
As you're walking around the corner, you get a little closer to this first building here in the lakeside district.
The Kraken comes out.
You
and
can
eats
see,
all-
you can
Let's
see
slap.
there's a dwarf standing outside, who, while his garb is pretty standard, relatively high class for Kovlar, a very finely woven jerkin pulled over his shirt, well manicured. His hairstyle and his beard are incredibly complex. His beard, one massive primary braid with a pair of almost wound, beaded strands coming down, framing it. The beard itself being woven near the bottom, not just ending, but rather in almost a sigil of the hair itself before it ends in a large metal band. The hair at top of his head, both equally brown, similarly done up in incredibly kind of impressive craftsmanship. Standing outside this rather plain-looking blue building, the first you come along on this road, and he sees the group of you coming down the road and just raises a hand, held the group of you. Aye! Welcome! Nadram's fine dwarven barber shop. None of you got beards proper except the dwarven one among you. But we handle hair at the top of your head equally well. Dwarven styles, human styles. We can find something fitting for everyone.
How are
And
you-
my fine friend?
I immediately point at the Urixi. He doesn't have hair.
Any mystery can be solved with enough skill.
How are you at waxing?
Waxing fine and fantastic. It's part and parcel. Any and all various styles, shavings, and get that head looking right and proper once more. Really make your water paint shine and sparkle.
Do you have any female employees?
Of course we do. Nadram employs a fine staff of both genders that tend to all races and ancestries proper.
Roisin, have you heard about the new fad in Absalom? It's called the Absalom Absolute Wax.
You're making this up, I know
She's
you are. You've been
making
with
this
me
up.
literally 24 hours a day ever since I've met you.
Our stylists have got everything from stoic traditional dwarven styles to the latest trends and fashions from the worlds above.
Why are you down here by the docks of all places?
Is Sal Sartan back there?
I'm sorry I'm unfamiliar, lass.
I thought for sure where something this weird was, Sal would be here.
High traffic, plenty of business. Merchants coming to and fro, getting fine catches and food. Plenty around by the lakeside, just not out in the waters.
I mean,
Fair enough.
I could use a rebraid of my beard, I suppose.
Besides, word of mouth travels fast. We don't need a pristine location to get recurrent customers, because not a one of them's left disappointed. Now that I'm seeing sure to that.
Well, yes.
You got a moment out of your day, you won't regret it.
Well, I suppose the day did just start, didn't
Ooh,
it?
yes, eyebrows, please.
All right, we'll see what you can do with this.
And we'll take an Absalom absolute
I
wax.
just look at Trushik.
I do not think he understands the scale of the situation.
Yeah.
Perhaps they could polish you. Give it a nice shine.
Get like a power buffer.
That would defeat the purpose of being a sneaky individual.
You're
have-
wearing
If I
a
am
bright
shiny.
red jacket.
you
Has
have-
it given me away yet?
Do you have a bathtub?
Hal Hartod, Hal's Herporium.
Nice.
But I suppose they're distracted as always from our primary goal. We'll leave off here
There's a primary goal.
to
Just-
pick up next week.
Yeah, to
Just
to
trick
get to the
Roisin
boat.
into getting a bikini wax.
Just for the
I thought the
record,
primary goal was
Yeah,
just
probably
that's
need an
major
entire
curse
team
mode right
just-
there.
because think about how tangled all those braids
if
are.
we're going on the water, we're getting bikini waxes. That's just how it works.
I
You're
don't-
like in full plate.
Yeah, why?
But what if
Bikini
we'll
armor.
know?
Next,
You gotta have an appropriate set of bikini armor for the adventures on the
next
sea.
week.
beach episode.
It's the beach episode. I mean, you're not wrong. It actually is pretty.
I
It's a beach episode.
I'm
have
just
the
gonna
umbrella.
have a speedo that wraps around my tail.
Oh, I
Bright red letters.
Yep.
I left off with a freaking beachside salon, and we literally are set up for a beach episode next week. What have I done?
Now you have
gotta
to
go
make
get
that
a
the
hat.
title somehow. The beach episode, just dots.
Oh, I did this to myself.
Every good anime has to have a beach episode.
We are an anime.
I mean, the anime high school was back in.
That we literally went to the Anime Girl High School back in Kentucky,
And-
so
Roisin literally has anime armor now, where I can literally turn her. She can go pretty princess mode.
I made a
Oh my
mistake.
god.
That's true. You get.
I
Yeah.
made a
Roshi doesn't
mistake.
know it either.
Magical girl
I made a horrible
transformation
mistake.
sequence.
What have you done? You've weaved the entire game.
I don't know if I should be
Those two.
proud or insulted.
It's
I
about
regret
the
everything.
perspective. His was not appropriate for what he set himself up for.
All right, guys. You know, this is Dragon Slayer. You know, next.
next
Oh,
week
God.
when we return, I guess it's a beach episode. Yeah. But we got our boat rental. We got our permissions to head out
Yep.
to the Blue Crab Lake of
Oh,
Kovlar.
yeah, we have a Kitsune character now, right?
try to figure out what has happened to the supply of the namesake blue crab and what happened to the boat fishermen sent out to investigate. Also, there's a salon involved apparently, but that's unrelated. Anyway, thank you everyone for hanging out. Hey, at least we got the internet to come back up so we can go on and finish the episode. Sorry about that weird drop. I'm not really sure. That was just the internet just died for a couple
Internet
minutes.
Florida.
As far as I could tell,
Unfortunate.
there was nothing wrong with the equipment.
Because we have an actual internet tech here, like he just also plays.
I mean, honestly, you hadn't done anything to screw anything up in weeks. We were dead.
Yeah, we were way overdue a
We
tech
were
issue.
so
No,
overdue.
that's not true. He bought a motherboard that was completely missing a pin from the CPU.
That's
slot.
true. I've actually had several. It's just been largely off stream.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But
though.
anyway,
Anyway.
thank you everyone for being here. Next week, next Saturday, we're going to be back, same time, same place, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, with the next episode of The Age of Ashes. This is the Two Perception Show. Thank you, of course, to Paizo for sponsoring us, Sirenscape for their beautiful background sound here and this fantastic ambiance, and you for being here, hanging out, supporting our channel.
Cue the Beach Boys music for next time, guys.
No, no.
And copyright strike.
We'll get there.